Not to brag, but these are really tasty. I bet even Grace, my picky sister, would finish this whole thing in one sitting. My cooking abilities were definitely up there with Michelin star chefs. I took another bite out of a fajita when I heard noises coming from the living room. Ah, Grace must be back. There she was, sprawled out on the couch, surrounded by her handbag, heels, jacket, and other stuff. Grace, we've talked about this. I can't keep on tidying up after you. I have studying to do, I said as I picked up her things. Suddenly, Grace sat up, rested her head in her hands, then looked at me with sad eyes. An uneasy feeling welled up in my heart. Oh no, what was wrong? She sighed, and as she glumly stared at the floor, she said, "Eston, pack your things. We're moving out tomorrow." What? Again? I couldn't contain my shock. Why, Grace? Do you owe someone money again? Grace didn't answer, so I worriedly asked, "How much do you owe this time?" $7,000, she mumbled. What? $7,000? That's crazy. What did you borrow so much money for? I plopped down on the sofa in disbelief. I sat there, frantically wondering how to deal with Grace's enormous debt. Her extravagant spending habits had started after our parents passed away. I guess she was trying to numb out her grief with the latest must-have outfit. Then suddenly, she burst out laughing. Come on, bro, I'm just kidding. Huh? I gaped at her. Grace, it's not funny. For an instant there, I actually thought we'd have to elope or something. She grinned at me. If there's no debt, then why are we moving again? I followed her as she walked out of the room, took a piece of fajita, and popped it in her mouth. Then she began to tell me everything. Turns out she'd found herself a sugar daddy fiancé, and we were moving in with him. I frowned at her. So what, now you're marrying some granddad? Why do you... Without letting me finish my sentence, Grace tapped my head with her knuckle. Do you seriously think a beautiful and famous model like me would marry some old man? Yet, even as a famous model, you still can't afford all of your branded goods. Then you have to keep on moving house all the time to avoid the debt collectors. I winked at Grace. She was about to hit me on the head again, but I dodged it. Ha! The next morning, there was a knock at the door, so I opened it to find a good-looking man in his mid-40s standing there. Ah, turns out he's Owen, my future brother-in-law. Before I had a chance to say anything, Grace tottered over in her heels and wrapped her arms around his neck. Honey, why are you so late? I'm so nervous. Smiling, Owen said, Darling, there's nothing to worry about. Everything's ready to welcome you and Eston. They continued coddling each other, so I quickly walked away. Seeing them like that gave me goosebumps. Ugh, cheesy. Owen drove us to his house. Well, I say house, but it was more like a royal palace. Inside there was a classic design to the place, with a luxurious style. I spotted a girl about my age sitting on the couch. Her arms were folded and she had a disgruntled look on her face. Owen looked at her and said, Vivien, why are you still sitting there? Come and welcome your stepmom and uncle. Vivien smirked and coldly replied, No thanks. I'm not in the market for a new stepmom, especially one who's barely out of high school. Then she stormed off, slamming the door behind her. Oh no, she hates me. Does she? Seeing Grace look worried, Owen, though obviously a little angry, still tried to reassure her. It's okay, she's just being a typical teenager. Give her a few days and I'm sure she'll be fine. As for me, I was a little... No, I had to admit that I was very nervous. Vivien's sharp-eyed look had made me feel uncomfortable. I mean, I think a tank full of sharks would have been more welcoming than her. Looks like my new home life wouldn't be easy. The next morning, while I was helping Grace take some pictures of her posing in the living room, for the gram, she suddenly yelled so loud that I had almost dropped the phone. Hey, take that dog out right now! Hurry up! I turned around and saw Vivien walking what looked like a white cloud across the room. Seeing that, I ran toward her and said, Vivien, please take it outside, as Grace is allergic to dog fur. Vivien rolled her eyes and replied, This is my home, and this is my dog. Then she smirked as she let go of the dog lead. Oops! Her fluffy cloud dog immediately ran over to Grace and started barking at her. Grace yelped out, grabbed the pillow, then tried using it as a shield as she continued to scream at the dog to go away. At that moment, Owen appeared from upstairs, and with an angry look on his face, he snapped at her. "Vivien, get Teddy out of here right now." "No, it's them who should leave," she argued, while her dog barked so hard that Grace huddled up tighter in the corner of the couch and cried non-stop. "Vivien, you've been warned. If you do it again, then I'll have no choice but to find Teddy a new home," Owen shouted loudly. Vivien huffed out, then gave Grace a fierce look as she picked up the dog and walked off. Man, it was true that life here wasn't easy at all, and it was about to get a lot harder. The next day, I was rearranging my new room when I heard a loud noise coming from downstairs. I went to check it out and found Grace instructing two maids on where to hang a giant print from one of her modeling photo shoots, and laying on the ground was the picture of Vivien with Owen and her mom. "Move a little right? No, a little left." "Okay," Grace ordered them. I hurried over to her and asked, what are you doing?" She smiled. "I'm just making a few decor adjustments. It looks far more luxurious now, don't you think?" Then she picked a gray vase off the table and threw it into the trash can, then placed a double swan figurine in its place. "Now that's much better," she rubbed her hands together. God, I know Grace was just trying to claim her position as host, but even so, she shouldn't have taken down the picture of Vivien's mom. If she knew. At that moment, a scream interrupted my train of thought. Vivien's. Sigh. I knew it. "Grace, how dare you?" Vivien blushed with anger. Then Grace interrupted her. "This is my house too, and I have the right to put my mark on it. It makes the room look far more modern." "No, you have no right. Take down that disgusting picture and put the old one back. This is my house and your father will soon be my husband. So I can do what I please. So stop your childish strops and just accept it." Vivien resentfully picked up the family picture, then quietly took it up to her room. As a witness to it all, I have to be honest, I thought Grace was being outrageous. After all, Vivien's mother passed away not too long ago, so it was only natural to not accept the stepmother, right? But now Grace was messing things up and seemed to want to delete all of the images of Vivien's mother in this house. That wasn't cool. That evening I was reading The Theory of Everything in the garden when I felt a pat on my shoulder. I looked up to see Owen. "Eston, I'm just letting you know that schools are all set up for you. You start next week." Then he added, You don't have a car yet, do you? I shall ask Vivien to give you a lift. You're in the same class anyway." Wait, what? I was actually going to the most prestigious and expensive school in the area? That's a dream come true, but I heard that all the other kids that went there were rich and influential. Could a poor guy like me adapt to the luxurious environment there? A feeling of uneasiness suddenly welled up in my heart, but then I told myself that everything would be fine. Monday morning arrived and I made sure I was ready early. I lingered around in the kitchen waiting for Vivien, but 30 minutes later, and she still hadn't appeared. I started to panic, as I didn't want to be late on my first day. That was the type of bad first impression that would stick. I was about to walk to the bus stop when I saw Vivien slowly coming down the stairs. She winced at me and said, "Oh, you're still here. I suppose you want to come with me then?" I didn't answer and just followed her to the car. As soon as I sat down, she sped away. I hadn't even fastened my seatbelt yet, which I then tried to do in a fumbled panic. Every time she pressed down on the accelerator, my heart skipped a beat. Then after some hellish 10 minutes, she stopped the car. Whew! I was still alive. But hang on, this wasn't school. I turned to Vivien and stammered to ask her, but she cut me off. "Get out of my car, and if you dare tell anyone how you know me, you will pay." Then she raised her fist to my face. Wow, she didn't have to be that aggressive. But fine, anyway. I didn't want to have anything to do with her either. As I briskly walked to school, I found myself worrying that this would be like it was in the movies, and I'd be teased for being the newbie. The school came into view, and damn, it was even more spectacular in real life. I took a deep breath to muster up the courage to enter the school. The grandeur and beauty of the place was so overwhelming. I was used to graffiti-covered desks and a jam locker door. Not here. Even the restroom door signs were expensive looking. I was wandering aimlessly trying to find my classroom when suddenly, I saw this girl walk ahead and drop something. I picked it up and called after her. "Sorry, is this yours?" The girl turned around, then squeaked out, "Oh my God, thank you. You're my knight in shining armor. I can't live without my glossy lipstick." Then she started doing this odd pose. Then she pouted and flicked out her hair. Was this a rich girl thing? It was very confusing, but hey, I guess she seemed nice. I smiled at her, then turned to walk away. That's when I noticed the groups of girls in the corridor. They were all staring at me, and one of them even winked. Then I overheard some of them talking about me. One of them said, "Ooh, he's cute." And another said, "It's about time we had a new hot boy in this school." Well, girls from rich schools were weird. I know I'm quite a good-looking guy, but I'd never had girls act like this toward me before. I chuckled inwardly and went to find my class. It seemed inevitable that my school life was destined to be rather, interesting. "So, who knows the answer to this?" the teacher asked. The whole class was silent as they looked down at their desks and scratched their heads. Suddenly a hand was raised. Yes, it was me. Just me. In fact, physics was my forte subject, so the question on the board didn't baffle me, so I gave an in-depth answer. The teacher looked surprised, then she smiled at me and said, "It looks like we have a budding Einstein in our midst." All this praise was a little embarrassing. Also, I noticed that all the girls in the class were looking at me with admiring eyes. Meanwhile, I overheard one boy whisper, "Where did this robot come from?" I unconsciously glanced over at Vivien. She was sitting in the corner of the classroom and even she was gawping over at me. Meeting my gaze, she immediately pouted and looked away. For the rest of the day, I continued to impress my teachers and classmates. In English Lit, I recited a verse from Twelfth Night, and in math, I wrote down the formula for pi on the board. Hey, being smart has its highlights, and it was good to get recognition for my brains. I'd already been recruited into both the physics club and the quiz team. Hey, turned out this new school was not that bad. I'm Eston, and if you haven't seen part 1 of my story, I advise you to go and check it out. So, I'm only at this elite school because my sister Grace is marrying an older rich man named Owen. Then there's Vivien, Owen's daughter. I haven't quite worked her out yet, but she seems like trouble. As the first days went, mine was a success, so I was grinning as I walked toward the bus stop. Suddenly a girl caught up with me and patted me on the shoulder. "Hey, I'm Lila. We're in the same class." "Hi, Lila. I'm Eston." I smiled at her. "You're so good at, well, everything," she giggled. "So, I like physics too. I think we should study together sometime." She chewed on her lip as she twizzled a strand of her hair around her finger. "Yes, sure." Suddenly a nudge distracted me. "Vivien." She swaggered past us, then looked back at me and pouted. Seeing this, Lila rolled her eyes and tutted out, "That girl is such a nuisance. I'd recommend you steer clear of the likes of her." I nodded at Lila's words, but kept my eyes on Vivien. At that moment, bump. Vivien, with her head so high, striking her arrogant walk, had crashed straight into some nerd who was walking while looking at his phone. I winced as I watched her fall on top of him, and his phone flung away and smashed as it hit the ground. She blushed and scrambled to get up, frantically took out the money from her wallet and stuffed it into the boy's hand and hurried away. "Huh? What an obnoxious girl," Lila snarked. "Thinking daddy's money solves everything? How ignorant." Sigh. I can only give her a shrug hearing those words, then quickly made my excuses about having to catch my bus. That night, I was watching Mythbusters on TV in the living room when I suddenly saw Grace running out of the bathroom screaming. Her skin had these red patches all over it, and she was crying out how there were dog hairs on her towel. At that moment, Vivien passed us. She looked Grace up and down, then smirked and said, "Oh my, our model looks like a lobster today." Grace was so angry that she somehow managed to turn even redder. "Vivien, you dare? Just you wait." After that, Grace burst into the office and dragged Owen into the living room. Oh man, it was really serious this time. "Owen, look at me. I'm hideous and it's down to that spiteful child." She pointed at a still smirking Vivien. "These tricks of hers are unacceptable." She shook her arm vigorously, then stomped her feet on the floor. Owen frowned at Vivien, but she didn't show any guilt. Instead, she just shrugged and said, "I have no idea what she's talking about." The atmosphere in the house was so tense that I literally couldn't breathe. Seeing this, Grace continued, "Honey, it's time we sent her to boarding school. The teachers there will be better equipped to manage her and help her change." Owen listened attentively, then nodded. Vivien's smirk dropped, and she glared at Grace, then turned to Owen and said harshly, "Dad, why do you always listen to her? She's just an outsider. I'm your daughter." "Okay, let's take it slow. I'll see what's the best for you." Then he turned to Grace and said softly, "Come on, darling, let's go get you some medicine." Then he led Grace to their bedroom. I thought that the threat of boarding school would change Vivien, but no. It only seemed to entice her more. One day during dinner, Owen's phone rang. He went out of the room to answer it, and when he returned, his face was all scrunched up in anger. Then he slammed his fist on the table. "Vivien, you're causing trouble again? How dare you break in and steal stuff from the chemistry lab?" I really have no words." She didn't respond, still focused on her plate, which drove Owen even madder. He shouted, "Your teacher said if you make any more minor mistakes, they'll expel you. Is that what you want?" "Oh my God, expelled from school? That would bring shame to our family," Grace added. Vivien glared at Grace, but she still continued. "I did tell you to send her to boarding school, but you refused." Then suddenly, her eyes lit up as if she had just come up with some crazy idea. Then she turned to look at me with a smile that sent chills down my spine. "Ah, I know. Eston's a top student, and he's in most of Vivien's classes, isn't he? So he can supervise her. Maybe there will be good results." "What? No way!" Vivien and I shouted in unison. While I was silently cursing Grace's crazy idea, Owen seemed quite amused by it. "Yeah, that sounds good." "No way! Who the hell is he to monitor me?" "Well, if you don't like it, then I suggest you go up to your room and start packing for boarding school." Vivien didn't say anything else, just sulked and stormed back to her room. Owen shook his head wearily, then told me to go have a little talk with him in his office. "Eston, please help me keep an eye on Vivien. Honestly, I don't want to send her away to a boarding school, but I can't sit around and wait for her to be expelled either." This put me in a dilemma here. I didn't want any involvement with this stubborn girl, but I couldn't say no to Owen. Seeing me hesitate, he continued, "Please, she's a good kid. She's just had a tough time and she's so angry at everything. She's so angry at me." And yeah, you guess it, I gave in and agreed to help him. Then he immediately listed off a series of tasks. Don't let Vivien get anything lower than a C. Don't let her hang out with any bad friends, including Carter, her current unpleasant boyfriend. Follow her closely and don't let her break any school rules. Make sure she takes studying seriously for once. These sounded simple, right? For normal people, maybe, but Vivien was far from normal. Instead, she was troublesome, cunning, and uncooperative. I had no idea how I was going to convince a rebel like Vivien to abide by any of these rules. But I'd told Owen I'd help. So now I had to stick to my word. So from then on, I officially became Vivien's tutor and butler. I had to tutor her every day, keep an eye on her 24/7, and of course, put up with her mischievous pranks to escape my management. "Please, focus! Why do you keep on staring out the window and daydreaming when the exams are right around the corner?" I got really mad at Vivien. "I don't want to, but I have a headache, so I just can't concentrate." She wasn't fooling me with that fake pity face. I immediately pulled a tablet of aspirin out of my shirt pocket and tossed my head to signal her to take it, so that she could keep studying. Vivien was dumbfounded, picked up her pen, and started doing the homework. But within just less than 5 minutes, she turned to me and asked, "Hey, Eston, do you like playing games?" I flipped the pages of the book and reluctantly said yes. Clearly, she was just waiting for that, as she immediately took out her Nintendo Switch, excitedly gave it to me and said, "So you can play this, and I'll sleep for a bit. I stayed up so late last night watching movies. When the time's up, just tell my dad that we finished studying. Before I can say anything, she'd already jumped onto her bed and wrapped herself in blanket. Ugh, so frustrating. But then an idea popped in my head. Well, then let's change the learning method. Language shower. How does that sound? Then I reached for the mini speaker on the table, played a Spanish audio lesson at the highest volume, and placed it right by her ears. She quickly covered her head with a pillow, but I didn't give up and continued pushing the speaker close. After rolling around in bed for a while, she finally admitted defeat, and with a frowning face, went back over to the desk and said, "Okay, just stop this crazy torture right away, please. You want me to sit here and study, right?" I folded my arms and smiled smugly. Ha! This girl is not that hard to handle. I didn't share Vivien's carefree attitude. Instead, I was so anxious that she would fail her exams and I'd get the blame. I even had to beg her, "Hey, please, focus on studying literature, please. If you get an F, then I will be dead meat." "Huh? That's none of my business," Vivien sneered. I desperately passed her my essay. "Here, I've already prepared this for your reference. You just have to memorize it." She quickly scanned it once, then dropped it down on the table and replied, "Nah, you can learn it by yourself. I have better things to do." Helplessly, I picked up the essay and read it out loud. I read it again and again, with the hope that while she was polishing her nails, she could remember a few sentences. At first, Vivien seemed annoyed, but then she giggled and said, "Okay, let me learn on my own. Your poor face looks so funny." What a miracle! She actually started reading through the notes, but to be honest, I didn't expect much. But you know what? The most unexpected thing happened. When we were standing outside of the school gates, she showed me her exam results. B's and C's, and not one D. Man, this felt even better than when I got an A+. Well, almost. I was about to congratulate her when I heard someone shout her name. Then I turned around to see some kids walking over to her. Oh no. Were these the bad influences Owen told me to keep her away from? Oh no. Vivien's friends were walking over to her, so I quickly pulled her aside and sternly told her to go home immediately. Vivien moved her hand away and said, "Huh? It's none of your business. I could be anywhere with anyone and you have no right to force me." "Fine then. If you don't come with me, then I'll call Owen and you'll no doubt be sent off to boarding school by the end of the week. Is that what you want?" She reluctantly said her goodbyes to her friends, then followed me home. I couldn't help but smile proudly. I'd done a good job. Victory felt good. I'm Eston, and if you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 of my story, I suggest you go and check them out. As for Vivien, no, I don't have some sort of superiority complex. I'm only bossing her about like this because her dad, Owen, gave me the job of supervising her. I have had her best interest at heart. As if she messes up, then he's going to send her to boarding school. I don't get it. I know Vivien doesn't want to be sent away, but why couldn't she just behave? Ugh, she was so not a simple girl. In fact, Mischief should be her middle name. The next day when I walked into class, everyone was looking at me and laughing. Then the boy sitting next to me showed me a photo on his phone. Geez, what on earth was it? Yup, it was me asleep on my desk in my room. My mouth was wide open and I was drooling. Who the heck posted this online? Could only be Vivien. Suddenly, a paper plane hit my head. I unfolded it and read the message. "That was for embarrassing me in front of my friends, even Stevens." Well played, Vivien. Of course, I was far too much of a diligent and responsible person to bail on my mission because of some silly photo. You know what? Since I agreed to supervise Vivien, I always made sure she was in my sights. I followed her so closely that soon the rumors started circulating such as, "Are those two dating?" and "Eston is such a gold digger." But I just found their childish words amusing. Besides, I knew the truth. Until one day, I was studying in the library when Lila sat down next to me. "What's going on between you and Vivien? I mean, you always seem to be together." I was too tongue-tied to reply, so Lila continued. "I think you should stay away from her. Trust me, there's nothing good about that type of girl. Out of nowhere, Vivien jumped in and shouted, "Oh, excuse me. What did you just say? So what type of girl do you think I am?" Everyone in the library stared at us. Lila could hardly answer, while Vivien's glare unnerved me. I was trying to find a way to cool things down, but Vivien just angrily swiped the book off the table, then stormed off. I wanted to chase after her, but Lila grabbed my arm and told me to ignore her. Then, in a sweet voice, she asked me to help her with her math problem. I forced a smile and replied, "Yeah, sure." After that, every time I saw Vivien, whether it was at school or home, she didn't say a word to me and instead just gave me death stares. Her look was a little on the scary side and made me feel uncomfortable, but above all else, it made me feel guilty. But I didn't understand why. I hadn't done anything wrong, right? Then one time, I was on my way to the canteen when I saw Grace. What was she doing here? I caught up with her and she said the principal had called as Vivien was in trouble again. But as Owen was on a last-minute business trip, she had to come. She's such a pain in the neck. I had to leave my nail appointment early. She waved her halfway painted nails in front of me. Look, how hideous. I walked alongside Grace. Lunch would have to wait, as I needed to find out what Vivien had done now. I didn't understand it, as I had been keeping a close eye on her and I hadn't seen her do anything bad. From the outside, I saw both Lila and Vivien were in there. Grace stormed straight into the office and I stepped in behind her. It turns out the history exam had disappeared, and earlier on, Lila had seen Vivien sneaking into the teacher's classroom. Frustrated, Vivien shouted out, "No, that wasn't me. Lila made that up." But the principal didn't believe her and was persistent that Vivien had done it. He also said Lila was an exemplary student, and there was no reason for her to make this up.
"This is it. You're expelled,"
the principal declared. I looked at Vivien with concern, and she looked like she was about to cry. Right at that moment, Grace spoke up. "Do you have any other evidence besides this girl's words? How can you accuse Vivien like that when your only proof is another student's words? I don't think my daughter is that kind of person." Vivien looked up at Grace with her eyes widened. After discussing for a while, in the end, the principal changed his mind about expelling Vivien and decided this needed investigating further. Phew. I felt relieved. As we walked out of there, Vivien awkwardly looked at Grace and said, "Thank you," then ran away. It was strange seeing her acting all timid, but I guess what Grace did meant a lot to her, as after that, they stopped the petty feuding. Grace didn't tell Owen about what happened, and Vivien even asked her friend to take care of her pet dog for a while so Grace could have a break from sneezing. It was nice not living in a war zone, but more than that, this version of Vivien was, well, very cute. It was a Saturday night, and I was playing on the PS5 in the living room when Vivien appeared. Whoa, she was all dressed up and she looked, really good. "Later, losers. I'm going on a date with Carter," she waved at me. I immediately jumped up and blurted out, "No, you can't." I mean, that's one of the taboos Owen had mentioned before. I tried everything to make her stay at home, but to no avail. So I grabbed my jacket and secretly followed them to their rendezvous. Yes, I was third-wheeling, but I needed to check nothing bad would happen to her. I mean, I'd promised Owen. I followed them to an open-air cinema. Cheesy. Sitting not far away, I saw them kissing, and then halfway through the movie, he took her hand and led her off. Where were they going? Looking at Carter's eager face, it wasn't hard to guess what he had planned. As Vivien's supervisor, I couldn't let that happen. So I immediately ran over to them, quickly wrapped my jacket around Vivien's waist, and whispered to her, "Your Aunt Flo is on her way over." Vivien looked startled, and to Carter's surprise, she hurriedly told me to take her home. When we arrived back, she rushed up to her bathroom. And just as I expected, exactly 1 minute and 30 seconds later, she ran up to me and shouted, "How dare you fool me! You ruined my 3-month anniversary date!" Then she angrily went back to her room and slammed the door. She could be mad with me if she wanted. I was just doing my duty. After that, Vivien refused to talk to me. And whenever I saw Carter, well, his death glares made his feelings toward me pretty darn clear. Then one day after school, while I was waiting for Vivien to appear at the school gate, my phone buzzed. It was from her. "I'm trapped in the girls' restroom on the second floor. Please hurry." Without thinking much, I rushed over there. I was just about to bang on the cubicle door when I felt someone grab my collar and pull me back. It was the principal, followed by Carter and Vivien. What? Why was she there? This was so confusing. The principal made me follow them to their office, then accused me of being a peeping perv. What? I tried defending myself, but he didn't believe me. I suppose this wasn't surprising, seeing as I didn't tell them about Vivien's message. However mad I was with her for framing me, I knew if I landed her in trouble, she'd be expelled. And I didn't want that. Not only did it majorly suck that everyone thought I was a peeping Tom, but I also ended up being suspended for the rest of the week. I stayed in my room feeling glum and forced myself to study. But I couldn't concentrate on anything, not even physics. This was awful. While I was thinking about it, I heard a knock on the door. I opened it to see Vivien standing there. Great, now she was here to rub salt in the wound. Regardless of how much you hate me, you shouldn't have framed me like that. This could affect my future. I went to close the door, but she stopped it with her foot. Wait, I have some good news for you, she smiled at me. You can go back to school tomorrow. It was all Carter, so you're off the hook. I looked at Vivien with amazement and asked if it was true. As soon as she nodded, I immediately hugged her. A few seconds later, I felt like I was overreacting, so I let go of her and scratched my head shyly. Then Vivien told me everything. Turns out she found out that Carter had stolen her phone and sent me that message to trap me. Then he told the principal he'd seen me sneaking into the girls' restrooms. Vivien made him confess, but she secretly recorded it and sent it to the principal. So I wasn't suspended anymore. What a relief. Man, I'm really grateful to Vivien. But then I asked her, but Carter is your boyfriend. Nah, I've decided I've outgrown bad boys. Instead, I want someone caring and sweet. She grinned at me. Well, this was a few months ago, and although Vivien is still feisty and stubborn at times, she is taking her studies more seriously now. The atmosphere in our house is pretty good, which makes my life so much easier. And you know what? Vivien and Grace are even going shopping together, and I have to go and carry their stuff. Oh, and if you're wondering about Vivien and me, I guess a rebel and a top student can get on after all. I guess we'll just have to see what happens.
Really? You're from Korea? No way. You sound just like a native speaker. Richard jumped up in surprise as I told him I came from South Korea. Yeah, I'm 100% Korean, I answered him, giggling. I had spent hours every day practicing my English. Guess it has paid off. But that was 6 years ago already. I'm Jenny, by the way, and I'm Korean. At the time I was 21, I joined an online English speaking club where I first met Richard, who never in a million years did I think I'd fall in love with. But that's exactly what happened. Ever since that very first class, we started talking every day, and the sparks between us were undeniable. He always mentioned how he wished I could be in the Czech Republic with him, and I found myself daydreaming about our future wedding. Okay, so I was getting ahead of myself, but he was just so amazing. After a month of talking nonstop, I realized I was probably going to fail college if I didn't start setting my priorities straight. But all I could think about was him. And whenever we weren't chatting, I was stalking him on social media. And every time I saw him tagged with another girl, I got so jealous. This couldn't be healthy. I mean, I hadn't even met him in real life, but still, we continued to fall for each other. And he even introduced me to his two best friends, Anastasia and Pavel, via video chat. But not as blossoming as my love life, I was failing miserably at college. I'd always been the one who laughed at my lovesick friends, and now I was no better than them. This wasn't right. Something had to change. So even though it was killing me inside to do this, one night before sitting down on my desk to work on my assignment, I just picked up my phone and blocked his WhatsApp, deactivated my Facebook, and all without letting him know. Yep, I full-on ghosted him. It was such a hard decision, because that night, instead of getting anything done for the assignment, I found myself lying in bed with a tear-soaked pillow. It hurt so much, but I had to think about my future. My parents would kill me if I didn't get a good job. I couldn't let them down. Anyway, Pavel messaged me a few days later saying Richard had gone totally crazy and he'd never seen him this upset before. He barely ate anything and would drink all day. He's not much different from a zombie now. But I stayed unfazed. Bet he'd be okay though. He was young and handsome and girls were always after him. He'd get over me soon. And I'd get over him, right? If only it were that easy. I missed him every single day. Even though we'd been thousands of miles apart, he somehow always made me feel so safe, like he was right there next to me. What had I done? I'd ruined everything. Ugh. Instead of wasting time overthinking, it'd be better to put all my energy into my studies for now, right? And it worked. When graduation came around, I was the top student in my class and even got accepted on an exchange program in Australia. Without even thinking, I texted Richard to tell him the good news. I apologized for disappearing on him and said it had messed with my mind because I hadn't expected to fall for him so hard. I had just needed some time to finish my studies, but now I was ready to reconnect again. Well, he'd seen my messages, but there was no reply. It felt like someone had punched me in the heart. Hours later, he finally replied and said, "Sorry, Jenny, I'll get in touch soon. Now isn't the best time." I couldn't believe the words I was reading. I could actually hear the sound of my heart shattering, but it served me right. I was the one who'd gotten rid of him. He deserved better. But still, I stalked him every day online, and then I realized the only way to solve this would be to fly to the Czech Republic and find him. First, though, I had my exchange program in Australia. I bought a new phone and got a new number for the trip to leave my old one in Korea for my uncle who was always complaining about his outdated phone. Those 3 months in Australia were awesome, and I got my mind off things for a little. I was ready to start fresh when I got back from the trip, until my uncle told me that someone had texted me on my old phone, but because he didn't know English, he didn't know if it was for me or not. I immediately checked it, and there was a message from Richard that said, "Jenny, I'm so sorry for my last message. I miss you so much. Your smile, your eyes, your voice. I hope you can give me another chance. Love, Richard." OMG! Months had passed since he'd sent it, and the worst part of all is that my uncle had read the message, and so it said seen. This was a disaster. Okay, but I had to focus on the positive. He missed me. Maybe it wasn't too late. I tried to call him, but he didn't answer, so I texted him and explained what had happened. He finally replied and said he thought I'd given up on him. I'd never give up on him. We then had a proper phone call. "I am still thinking about you all the time. Why didn't you send me a Facebook message?" The words tumbled out of my mouth in a rush, as if I was afraid I would lose contact with him again in any sec. Suddenly, he went all quiet. And then he told me he'd recently met someone, and that he hoped I'd understand and still want to be friends. I felt devastated. Why was it so hard for us? But in the end, there was no other choice for me. I just wished him well and hung up. All I could do now was move on. It was time to find someone else to date. Clearly, Richard and I weren't meant to be. My heart hurt, but I found a job and threw myself into it, giving it all my attention. Eventually, I got promoted, and after 5 years, I was able to help my parents pay off their debt. I even moved up to a management position. Of course, during this time I dated a bit, but I couldn't make any of the relationships last. I just missed Richard all the time. I kept dreaming of us spending Christmas together. It was so frustrating. I mean, it had been 5 years, and we hadn't spoken at all. Why couldn't I just get over him? I occasionally went on his Facebook page, but all I could see was his profile pic that remained the same for years. I'd unfriended Anastasia and Pavel, too, so I couldn't stalk them either. For all I knew, he could be someone's husband now. Maybe even a dad. And yet still, I never gave up hope that maybe we'd meet in real life, our paths would cross, and we'd finally get to be together. I couldn't stop thinking about this. And then 3 weeks before Christmas, I got a new following request on Instagram. I couldn't believe it. It was Pavel. And he was now married to Anastasia. This made me so happy. And he told me they were going on their honeymoon to Korea and hoped to see me. OMG, this was so exciting. I desperately wanted to ask him about Richard, but I was terrified to hear that he had kids or something. Anastasia messaged me too and asked how I was doing. I told her I was still single because I worked all the time. Hey, there was no way I could tell her it was because I was still obsessed with Richard. Anyway, the week flew by, and finally I was at the airport awaiting to meet Pavel and Anastasia in real life. They both looked so sweet, and I gave them the biggest hugs. After hugging them, I noticed someone standing behind them. OMG. Was that Richard? What was he doing there? I was so stunned I couldn't move. It was really him. Pavel broke the silence by saying, "We brought Richard along for you, Jenny. Feel free to hit him, bite him, kick him, or whatever you want to do if you think he deserves it." Out of complete shock, I just burst into tears. It had been 6 long years of total silence, and now here he was, looking at me. I asked myself, could I hug him? But I didn't even get a chance to answer my thought because he ran towards me and picked me up in his arms, squeezing me tightly. Then he whispered in my ear, "I'm so sorry, Jenny. Please don't cry. I'm here. I won't leave you. I promise." Could I trust him, though? I was still in shock as I drove them to their hotel, and then again later when I drove to take them out for some Korean food. I was nervous about hanging out with them all, but we seriously had the best night eating, drinking, and laughing. The next day, Pavel and Anastasia would start their honeymoon. So maybe then Richard and I would have some time alone together to talk about whatever was left between us. After dropping them back at their hotel, I was driving away when suddenly I saw Richard running back towards me. He said he wanted to tell me something, so I pulled over and we sat down on a bench to talk. I listened as he told me that over the past 6 years he tried to date other girls, but it never worked out because I was always in the back of his mind. He said he'd spend most of his time working so he could save up to visit me or buy me a ticket so I could come and visit him. It had taken him longer than he'd hoped because his parents had got divorced and he'd been looking after his mom, who was super depressed. A few months later, she was diagnosed with cancer, and so he'd had to work even harder to help her pay for treatment. After 3 long years of fighting, she sadly passed away. And ever since then, he'd been feeling so lonely and sad. One day, he asked Pavel to contact me somehow, and when he found out I was still single, he was over the moon and decided it was finally time to come to Korea and see me. He said seeing me in real life had made him fall even more in love with me, which he hadn't thought was even possible. Then he hugged me tight and I couldn't stop crying. We spent Christmas together, just like I always dreamt of. And well, the rest is history. Here I am now, packing my bags to fly to the Czech Republic to see Richard. I can't wait to meet his family. And you'll never believe it, but we're even planning our wedding. The big question is, where do we live? Should I go there, or should he move to Korea? To be honest, it doesn't matter. As long as we're together, it'll be perfect. So it's true what they say. If something is meant to be, it'll be. Even if it takes a year or 6. All I know is that I'm glad I had the patience, because I've never been happy.
A lot of kids don't like Mondays, but I do. The start of a new week is full of so many possibilities. And, oh my days, who is she? Whoa, she's beautiful. She is the prettiest girl I've ever seen. She must be new here because I definitely haven't seen her around here before. I'm Evan, and as you can see, I'm kinda short and skinny. I might not be a muscly jock or anything, but I do have a big brain. I'm top of the class in math, sciences, geography, and soy el mejor de la clase en español. I'm proud of my collection of trophies and awards, and as a result, lots of kids in school know who I am. But I don't really like talking to new people. For such a smart guy, I find small talk awkward. It's like the words freeze in my head or something. Anyway, this is the main reason why I've been single for, well, forever. It doesn't matter. I need to focus on my studies anyway. But I do like girls, especially petite girly girls who need me to protect them. Being the smart guy I am, it didn't take me long to find out that the new girl is called Kayla. Kayla. What a sweet name. After a few days of looking through her social media accounts, I'd fallen deep for her. I wanted to tell her how I felt, but I'm just too shy and awkward. So I asked my best friend Liam for advice. Bro, what are you so scared of? You're the #1 guy in this school. Yeah, but only with books. Liam nudged me and said, Only? Dude, it's a big deal being that smart. Girls absolutely love it. You're a bright-looking guy and a top student. Just need to add a little bit of confidence, my friend. I was not sure about that, but what do I know? And Liam is good with girls, so I had to trust him. In fact, I am smart, and I should be proud of it and use it to my advantage. So what should I do to make a move? Now you need to prepare her a gift and surprise her with it in the canteen. Girls love romantic gestures like that. What kind of gift? Don't sweat it. Just get her something you think she'll like. The next day at recess, I carried a box to the canteen. I spotted her sitting with her friends. Oh boy, this was terrifying, but also kind of exciting. As I walked over to her, I noticed how pretty she looked today. Suddenly, she stood up and went to the food stall. Okay, so she was taller than I thought. Yeah, she's quite a bit taller than I thought. Oh no, she's a giant in comparison to me. Abort mission, abort! I turned around and started to walk off when I accidentally bumped into someone and dropped my box. All of my trophies and awards scattered across the floor, along with the love letter I'd written for Kayla. My eyes locked on it, and I was about to leap forward and grab it, but the girl picked it up. Then in a really loud voice said, "Oh look, Evan has a crush on Kayla. Who knew a nerd could have such high standards? Or should I say, tall standards?" Then everyone burst out laughing. Oh boy, this was embarrassing, so I hurried out of there. Liam, who had been waiting for me outside, stopped me as soon as I passed the door. "Dude, what was that? Are you really giving her those as a gift?" He snatched the box out of my hand and took a look inside. "Well, you said to get her what she liked, and you also said girls like smart guys, so don't these show off enough of my charm?" No, not like that. I just expected you to get her a teddy bear or some flowers. Evan, this ain't it." So, this was it. My life was over. I'll be a laughingstock forever. I'll have to convince my parents to let me move schools. No, to let me move planets. Huh? It's from Kayla. What? She says she likes me too. Is this thing broken or something? Wow. She says she's heard a lot about me and she admires my achievements. And she wants to hang out sometime. Not long after that, we started dating. She's such a fun girl to be around. But there's one thing bugging me. She's so tall and standing next to her constantly reminds me that I am so short. It never really bothered me before, but it does when I'm around her. People have always said I'm small-framed, but being next to her makes me feel like I'm a hobbit or something. I decided to bulk up, so I started going to the gym, but it was so hot and sweaty in there, it made me feel sick, so I gave up. I was born this way anyway. There's nothing I can do about it. Meanwhile, Kayla didn't seem to bother that I was smaller than her, and being seen in public with me didn't faze her at all. But I don't know, I just didn't feel comfortable. So after class, when she was waiting for me by the door to go to lunch together, I muttered out some excuse about needing the library, and I'd meet her there in a bit. I know it sounds bad, but I didn't want to hang out with her at school, as I didn't want the other kids gawping at us and making fun of our height difference. I've been in here all lunchtime. I don't want to see Kayla. Oh no, there she is. Phew, she's gone. Oh, why do they put these things so high up? Here, let me. I turned to see it was Kayla. Then she easily grabbed the book and passed it to me. Startled, I peered around to check no one had seen this and spotted two girls giggling and whispering to each other. This was so humiliating. It was bad enough that Kayla was bigger than me, but she was a sporty girl, so she was also stronger than me. One lunchtime I was struggling to open my bottle of Coke. Suddenly, Kayla appeared, grabbed it off me, and even though I muttered out I wanted to do it, she ignored me and opened it with ease. Then, one night while I was studying, Liam texted me telling me to go check my Insta. There was a picture of me sitting on Kayla's lap in the school garden. What? And then beneath it were loads of comments such as, "Whoa, little baby Evan with She-Hulk Kayla." And one of my friends even said, "Clearly Evan's the wife and Kayla's the husband." No, this couldn't be happening. That afternoon in the school garden, I'd asked Kayla to check my back for an insect bite. But before I could stop her, she'd pulled me onto her lap to check. But some jerk had taken a photo and posted it online saying, "Little Evan is sitting on the lap of his Hulk girlfriend." I was furious, especially with my friend's comment. I mentioned it to Kayla, but she just shrugged and told me they were only messing about and it was no big deal. After that, I didn't want to be around Kayla so much. She just made me feel so small, and I hated being laughed at by the other kids. A few days later, I was running in PE class when I tripped over my own feet and fell so hard onto the ground that I almost fainted. I lay there seeing stars and feeling like an idiot when a load of kids gathered around me. Kayla was also in the sports hall having her training lesson, so she ran over to me and ordered everyone to give me space. Then she bent down and lifted me up in her arms and carried me across the room. This was mortifying. So with the last bit of my energy, I shouted, "Put me down! I'm not a baby!" "Oh, okay. I'm just trying to help you." I don't need your help. It's embarrassing. It's like you're the man in our relationship. You make me feel inferior. Everyone was gawping at us and whispering. Then Kayla put me down and walked off in silence. She looked upset, and I felt kinda bad. That night, Kayla messaged me asking to meet me in the park. When I got there, she was already waiting for me on a bench. I sat down next to her and said, "Look, Kayla, I'm sorry about before. I was just..." "Stop. I want us to stop. You care too much about what other people think. So what if I'm taller and bigger than you? Who cares? You've never been small or weak in my eyes." I was speechless, and she continued, "You just don't value or appreciate me. I know you avoid me at school. I don't want a boyfriend who's embarrassed to be seen with me. I deserve better than that. So it's over, Evan." Then she stood up and walked off. I watched her go, and even though I wanted to run after her and beg her to forgive me, I didn't. I just sat there all alone, feeling like a fool. That night I thought about it a lot. I knew she was right. I've been a jerk, and now I'd lost my amazing, funny, beautiful girlfriend. I shouldn't have let other people's opinions affect me so much because, on reflection, they were irrelevant. I liked her, and she made me happy. So what if she could reach books that I couldn't? Thinking about it, she was actually really helpful to have around. A few days later, I texted Kayla to apologize and asked her for another chance, but she didn't reply. So I arrived at her doorstep with flowers in a box. Kayla opened the door and frowned at me. "I'm an idiot. A great, big, small idiot. But I really like you, Kayla, and I want everyone to know it. I really like Kayla! Please give me another chance, as I'm miserable without you." She stayed silent for a sec, but it felt like an eternity to me. I felt like I could faint until she spoke up. "Yes," she smiled at me. "I'll give you another chance, but don't mess it up this time." I leaped into her arms and hugged her. Yeah, she was holding me in the air, but I didn't care. I was just so happy she was my girlfriend again. After that, I passed her the box, which was full. No, not of my trophies and awards, but tubs of strawberry ice cream, her favorite flavor. I might be small and Kayla might be tall, and yeah, okay, maybe this does look funny to some people, but I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. I'm just over the moon, stars, hey, the entire solar system that she's agreed to be my girlfriend again.
Come on, just let us see it for once. Not like it's that good. Ugh, what do these jocks know about art anyway? I quickly stooped down to pick up my precious drawings, and that's when I heard a voice. "Oh, do you like anime too? Is this a series Under the Moonlight? OMG, don't tell me you're Oda's Eye." "Yeah." "Is it really you? I'm Tia. I'm a massive fan of yours. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm meeting you in real life. So, the nerdy guy is me, James, and the cute girl is Tia. This is our first conversation together, the one where she found out I'm Oda's Eye, which is my pen name. Soon after that, Tia became my girlfriend. It was good dating a girl who shared the same interests as me. We could just watch anime together all the time. Just like that, we were immersed in the movie Amagi Brilliant Park. Suddenly, Tia turned to me and asked, "James, the school Halloween party's next week, and I have no idea what to go as." "Hey, why don't you try dressing up as Latifah Florenza?" Tia gave me a skeptical look. "No way can an ordinary girl like me pull off dressing up as such a beautiful anime girl." I smiled. "Of course you can. Don't worry, I'll help you." So we started planning our costumes. I was going to dress up as Gojo and Tia as Latifah Florenza. Exciting, right? We went online to watch tons of anime dream girl makeup tutorial videos and joined cosplay groups to get our costumes. Buying costumes was the easy part. But the anime girl makeup technique was a pretty hard job to do. Big round eyes, unnatural eye color, thick and long eyelashes, pointed chin and a small mouth, etc. Ugh, that was Tia. Bet she just broke another eyebrow pencil in half. This makeup stuff seems stressful, huh? I arrived at the party first and waited outside for Tia. I felt kinda cool in my Gojo costume, and I couldn't wait to see Tia in hers. OMG, is that Tia? She looked even more beautiful than the goddess in the story. I couldn't stop complimenting her kawaii. As we walked inside, everyone was gawping at Tia. I took her hand and I led her into the center. And of course, Tia and I could clearly hear some of them saying, "Who's this? Tia? James's girlfriend?" And, "Is that Tia? I can't believe that girl used to sit next to me in class." This was definitely a proud boyfriend moment, especially when she was voted best dressed of the night. Some hot girls dressed as sexy animals even rolled their eyes at her before they walked off in a huff, while Tia jumped up and down in happiness. I'm so happy for my girl. Then on Monday morning, I was walking to class, expecting to meet Tia in the hallway as usual. Only this flamboyant girl with completely pink hair and wearing a Japanese manga schoolgirl outfit was standing in front of Tia's locker. Huh? What? I cleared my throat and said jokingly, "Hi, babe. I love your new hair and, your outfit." "Really? I'm glad you do. I've decided I'm going to be an anime girl from now on." What? So she was going to look like this all the time? I mean, I like her anime look, but surely it was best saved for a special occasion. While I was standing there unsure of what to say or do, I realized that a crowd had gathered around us. Well, around Tia. The one girl almost knocked me over as she ran over to Tia and asked for a picture with her. Well, I always thought I was the one around here who liked anime. Anyway, seeing Tia happily taking pictures with her admirers was pretty cool. Who wouldn't love having a pretty and famous girlfriend, right? After that, Tia became an internet sensation, and other kids from school seemed jealous that a girl like her was dating a dude like me. These two guys from class even had Tia's picture on their lock screen. Creepy, I know, but that just proved how desperate they were, right? But have you tried going out in public with an anime girl? Well, it takes about 10 times longer than normal to do anything. All these fangirls and some fanboys, appeared out of nowhere and started taking Tia for a chat and pics. She loved it and made a heart hand symbol to them while I stood there like the invisible man. To be honest, I gradually realized that having an anime girlfriend was really irritating. Why, you ask? Just be calm, I'll tell you. That morning I had an early math test, so I couldn't be late. But I also had to pick up Tia, and she's nowhere to be seen, so I texted her. "Hurry up, please, my test starts soon." A few minutes later, she huffed away over to me and moaned out, "Ugh, thanks a lot. Now I don't have contact lenses in. Don't you know how important eyes are to an anime girl?" So 0.04 inches of your eye is more important than my test? Seriously, I'm on the verge of failing math class and she's still in a mood with me about her eyes. Then at lunchtime, I noticed that there was something on Tia's lips, so I reached out my hand to wipe it away. "Wait, what are you doing? You're ruining my makeup. I woke up at 6 a.m. to do this." "Babe, you got mustard on your lips." She glared at me, then took out her compact mirror and slowly blotted the stain. So, as you can see, I couldn't even touch her, so of course, she would never allow me to kiss her or something. But honestly, I don't want that makeup to smear all over my face or my lips to turn to coral or purple either. Oh, not to mention how Tia became obsessed with her reflection. It got so bad we could no longer maintain eye contact or hold a proper conversation without her checking herself out every 5 seconds. For my birthday, I took Tia to this cool-looking Japanese restaurant in the city. But it was a full house that night, and we had no choice but to sit by a reflective glass window. Ugh. So, you guessed it right. The entire meal was spent with her checking for her angles in the window and constantly flipping her hair parting or delicately repositioning her fingers to frame her face. I got so irritated that I asked her if I was interrupting something between the both of them, to which she replied that she just wanted to check if her eyes matched her hair color. I was speechless. This was my birthday meal, but she cared more about her own reflection than actually talking to me. At the time, I was really tired of this anime version of Tia. I just wanted to go back to the way it was before, when we watched movies, studied Japanese, and planned to travel to Japan to see the cherry blossoms together. Then an idea popped into my head. "Tia, you want to go camping with me this weekend?" "Where will we go?" "Paradise Campground, provided you don't wear makeup." "Huh? Why? Don't you like my makeup? Don't you think I look pretty like this?" "Babe, you're always the prettiest, but I mean, what if I want to kiss you?" Tia shyly giggled and agreed. Oh yeah, so we're gonna have a weekend together by the woods, and I get to see the same old Tia again. Everything sounded like a good idea, right? But that morning when I arrived to pick her up, she appeared in her full anime look again. Huh? Why are you in makeup? "This is an amazing photo opportunity. I need new photos to post on my Instagram." Okay, this really ruined my mood, but instead of arguing, I drove Tia to the campsite. Then you know what? Turns out that weekend was literally just a photo shoot for her. She wanted pictures of everything. It was really too much. We couldn't walk 100 feet without her stopping to ask me to take more pictures of her posing by a tree, a tent, and on one occasion even someone's lost sneaker. Ugh. Then at night, she only wanted to play on her phone, as she had a lot of editing to do. It seemed like everything we did was only for a photo op. This drove me crazy, so I ended up shouting at her. All you care about is your stupid fans and not me. You're no fun anymore. Then I turned onto my side and sulked like that until I eventually fell asleep. I just wanted my fun, carefree girlfriend back, not this obsessive anime character she'd turned herself into. When I got home, we didn't talk to each other for the next few days. I kept myself busy by drawing doujinshi, watching anime, and learning Japanese. Aw man, these things were way more fun when I did them with Tia. Then one day at school, when I was walking toward my locker, I overheard some crying girl saying some boy had rejected her. And her friends were consoling her, telling her that they would teach her how to put on makeup and give her a makeover so the next boy she liked wouldn't reject her. This got me thinking. Tia used to be so negative about herself until she started dressing like an anime girl. Only then she became so confident and vibrant. Maybe I had been a little bit insensitive about her feelings. I needed to go find her. As I showed up at Tia's house, I saw her standing by the door with some good-looking boy. I can't believe it! Furious, I threw the flowers on the ground and turned to leave. James, don't go! Just wait for me! I kept on walking, but then stopped as I heard the boy say, That loser doesn't deserve a hot anime girl like you, Tia. You like anime girls? Then go find yourself one in anime stories. I'm Tia, and I'm not just some character for you to look at. James, I'm sorry. Don't be mad at me anymore. I only tried to be an anime girl just because I know you like them. I let out a long sigh and looked at her. The truth is, I wasn't mad with her anymore, but I tried to keep a straight face as she continued. James, don't give me the silent treatment. I'm miserable without you, and I don't care when other people say I'm pretty. I only care about what you think. Then she burst out crying. I couldn't pretend I didn't care anymore. I wiped away her tears and cupped her face in my hands to look closely at the girl I love. But wait, under the smudged makeup, what are these tiny red spots exposed on her skin? Oh my God, what's wrong, Tia? I don't know. I was a bit itchy at first, and recently it's gotten worse. Concerned, I took her straight to a dermatology hospital. The doctor said Tia was allergic to some ingredients in makeup products and prescribed her medicine. Phew. Luckily, she just needed to stop applying the makeup for a while and use some special cream to recover. What if you go off me because I can't be an anime girl for a while? Tia, I love you for you. With makeup on or not, you're still the most beautiful girl in the world to me. Anyway, your health comes first. You really think I'm beautiful? Yes, really. Besides, this is actually better, because it means I can actually kiss you without looking like a clown. So Tia and I got back together. Tia finally realized that I love her for her, and I care about her health and inner beauty, not just her appearance. Now she doesn't wear makeup like an anime girl anymore. Well, unless it's for a party or a cosplay event. On a daily basis, she only has light makeup on. Regardless of this, she always looks perfect to me anyway. As for me, I'm working on a new doujinshi series called I Don't Need Attention, I Just Want Your Heart, which is inspired by Tia, and she's my muse, which she's super excited about. And the series will be published soon.
This just in. Due to the new wave of COVID-19, the authorities are imposing a nationwide lockdown, which is expected to last 2 weeks. The lockdown will begin at midnight. Oh no, I have to get back to my dorm. We shouldn't waste any more time talking about this jerk anyway. I grabbed my stuff in a rush. Then suddenly, the doorbell rang. I'll be back in 1 second. Stephen went to answer the door, while I had no choice but to wait for him. Gosh, this whole pandemic situation was so worrying, and I was already not in the mood for any more bad news. From the living room, I could hear the voice of whoever was standing outside the door. Hey, any chance I can crash here for a bit? Sure, but just get your life together soon, will you? Gabe? Gabe turned to look at me. His eyes widened when he realized who I was, and he awkwardly looked away from me. So you two know each other? Stephen looked at us confused. There was an awkward silence between us three before he continued. So, Janet, this is Gabe. He's my friend from the college hockey team. Gabe, this is Janet, my good friend from high school. Jeez, this had reached new levels of uncomfortable. Gabe cleared his throat. Ahem. So, where do I sleep, Stevie? Then he headed straight to the bedroom that Stephen pointed to while yawning, saying he's going to sleep first. Stephen laughed and turned to me, saying, He's always like that. We were quite close back in college. He comes and sleeps over sometimes. I stuttered out, Stephen, that's the guy I was just telling you about. The one that ghosted me. Stephen gave me this astonished look, but he didn't say anything. Ugh, I so wasn't in the mood for this. I think it's best if I go. And right when I thought it couldn't get any worse, a phone call came. Upon seeing me pretty much freaking out as I took the call, Stephen must have sensed something was wrong. He asked me as soon as I was off the phone, Is everything okay? It's my roomie. She just told me there's been a positive case in our dorm. I can't go back until quarantine is over. Oh no, what am I supposed to do? All my stuff is in my dorm room, and I can't drive all the way back to my hometown. It's like forever, and it's late already. I wouldn't make it anywhere before the lockdown, and staying in some hotels for 2 weeks was surely not a smart choice. Janet, you can stay here. Stephen gently smiled at me. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. I can prepare the couch for you, so you don't have to go sleep in my bedroom. Aw, he remembers I have slight claustrophobia and feel uncomfortable in small rooms. I was about to reply, but he stopped me, then immediately walked over to the couch and started rearranging it. This was cute, and I did feel touched. Guess I'm staying here for quarantine. I mean, this would be fine, but Gabe was here too. What a small world, and what an awkward situation I'm in. But what choice do I have? The first night, Stephen stayed in the living room with me, and we talked a lot. Do you ever wish we were still back in high school? Things seemed simpler then, didn't they? Sometimes. It helped that back then I had the sweetest boyfriend. Do you remember when you got the cheerleading team to perform a special routine for my birthday? That's the cutest thing anyone's ever done for me. Stephen grinned. Well, I tried. We were so happy back then. Then college got in the way. Hey, it's not all bad. We're still great friends. Stephen smiled back gently. Very true. It felt good taking a trip down memory lane with Stephen. He used to be a sweet and caring boyfriend, and he still was such a guy. No matter what, being around him made me feel safe. We continued talking until dawn, then fell asleep. Much later in the morning, I woke up to the sounds of the fridge door slamming. Through blurred eyes, I made out that it was Gabe. He glared over at me before he stormed off back to his room. Ugh! Why did he hate me so much? Then I saw that he'd left pancakes on the table. Oh, these must be for Stephen, so I took them over to him. He was eating them as Gabe reappeared. Hey Gabe, thanks for the pancakes. Gabe grunted out a, yeah, then gave me a dirty look before he walked off again. I tried my best to avoid Gabe, but this wasn't easy when I was stuck in a small apartment with him. I spent most of my time reading a book or listening to music. Yeah, we had history, which I just finished telling Stephen the moment before Gabe rang the doorbell. We dated for a month. Everything was cool, and I started to like him a lot. And whoosh, he disappeared. Janet ghosted. I was still very sad and didn't want to deal with any of this yet. Did the universe set up this surreal quarantine situation so I could get over this being ghosted thing? Then after that, when Stephen was in the shower, Gabe walked over to me and passed me a candy bar. I put my book down and took it from him, but only because I didn't want to be rude. Then he awkwardly perched on the edge of the couch and said, what's the deal with you and Stephen? This annoyed me, so I blurted out, It's none of your business. Oh, please. I could already tell there's something going on the moment I walked in. Then, before I could reply, he continued, Fine by me. Makes sense for a girl like you would fall for a playboy. Steven is a good guy. He let you stay here, didn't he? So maybe you should think twice before you badmouth him in the future. Gabe grabbed the candy bar off me, then stood up. His cheeks were puffed out with anger, and he looked like he was gonna explode. That's when Steven appeared and tried to defuse the situation. He led Gabe out of the room, but after that, I was too mad to read. So I sat there overthinking things and feeling even more annoyed than ever. Dinner was awkward. We all sat around the table in deadly silence, and Gabe and I avoided making eye contact. I felt bad that Steven was stuck in the middle of this situation. He didn't deserve this. As I was washing up, I overheard Gabe say to Steven, "Can you give us some space? I need to talk to Janet in private." Steven went off to his bedroom. Then Gabe waited till I'd finished, then asked me to go out to the balcony with him. "Look, Janet, you're smart, beautiful, and very independent. I fell for you right on the first date." Ugh, right. Good luck fooling me one more time. I'm so over it. Seeing that I wasn't taking him seriously, Gabe continued. "I really mean it. That's why you're totally out of my league. I was too cowardly to tell you this, so I decided it'd be best to just disappear and let you forget about me." What? Was he being real? I had no idea he thought that way. He apologized for what he did, and I told him I forgave him. Okay, so maybe Gabe wasn't so bad after all. He's just really insecure. This sucks, as we got on so well. After our conversation, I felt less awkward around Gabe. He started doing cute things for me, such as leaving snacks with a little sticky note that had some cute doodles on it on my pillow, bringing me juices, and showing me funny memes on his phone. I mean, this didn't make up for what he did, but we were confined in a small space together, so politeness doesn't hurt, right? But then Steven started being weird. Whenever Gabe did anything nice, Steven would tut, snort, and on a few occasions, mutter out some rude comments such as, "From ghosting to stalker. Nice." Why was he being like this? Hey, don't tell me that he's jealous of Gabe. Great. Out of the frying pan, into the fire. Then, one lunchtime, Gabe made us French onion soup. As he passed it to me, Steven shook his head and, laughing, said, "That stinks. This is a poor attempt to impress Janet. FYI, she hates onions." What do you mean? I'm not trying to impress anyone. Oh, please. I know you still have feelings for Janet, but you're no match for her. I watched them with a poker face, since I couldn't process what was going on. Then Steven turned to me, boldly said, "Janet, so many things have happened and changed, but one thing is still solid. That's my feelings for you. Don't waste your time with this kid." Wow, I sat there perplexed. What was that? And wasn't Steven a little too mean there? This was a side of him I hadn't seen before, and I didn't like it. "Stevie, what is this? I thought we were bros." "Yeah, relax, we are. Look, we both like Janet, so she just needs to decide who she wants. So, who's it gonna be?" OMG, this is just like that Twyla Sega situation. I have to choose between two totally different guys. Ugh, I hate it. Both this situation and that series. And honestly, I don't like the immature way they're acting now. How dare you two create this whole dilemma by yourself and put me in the middle of it? I choose neither of you, okay? You both had a chance with me and you both let me go. I want to stay friends, but that's it. I stormed off, thinking this would be the end of it. Oh, how wrong I was. One time, I was watching a movie alone and got up to go to the bathroom. When I came back, they were both sitting on the couch, arguing with each other about who should stay and sit with me and who should go. Fed up, I shouted, "Will you both quit it already? You left me for college, and you for your own insecurities. And neither of you is acting like a grown man. I want a boyfriend who I can rely on, and that's definitely neither of you. As far as I'm concerned, Any romantic feelings I had toward you both are well and truly in the past. They both gave me stunned looks, and more awkward silence prevailed. Was it a bit harsh on them? Even so, they still needed to know my feelings so they'd stop their own illusions and stop fighting in vain. Luckily, quarantine was almost over, so at least I'll be out of this smothering apartment in 2 days. Oh boy, that was the longest 2 days ever! No one spoke to each other, and the atmosphere was awful. When it finally ended, I muttered out a quick thank you and hurried to the door. Janet, we are still friends, right? Yeah, you're still my friend too, yeah? Stephen and Gabe impatiently longed for my reply, but I just smiled at them both and left. The truth is, I'm not sure I want to be friends with either of them anymore. The last 2 weeks were so weird and messed up that I can't think of anything further. So, for now, I'm just gonna enjoy the relief of getting out of that bizarre being stuck with two exes scenario first, right?
I wonder who will hit the jackpot this week. How about that blonde Joseph? Nah, he's too slow. Or there's Arthur. But last time that weakling even struggled to carry my tray of food. Seeing as there's a science test this week, I suppose I better pick someone smart. That's when I spotted Jace. His dad's my family's driver. Yeah, that nerd definitely won't let me down. So I'm Victor. I'm 17 years old and I'm rich. My father's contributed so much money to this school that he has more power than the principal. So no matter what mischief I cause, the teachers know it's in their best interest to turn a blind eye. And look, I'm not only rich, but also handsome. Everyone wants to be my friend. Everyday girls chase after me, but tough luck for them. I'm already dating the hottest girl in school, Jessica. As for the boys, it's only fair they get to spend time with me. So each week I choose one of them to hang around with me and do my errands. Hey Jace, congrats dude, it's your lucky week. Sorry, could you choose someone else? Jace said timidly, then walked away. What? No one ever dared refuse me. I pulled his hand back, but he even spilled my juice box. That's it, nerd, you are so dead. The next day I was standing by my locker instructing Arthur to sort out my books when I overheard Jace talking to his friend about the science essay. Ugh. I totally forgot that we had to submit it online by midnight instead of in class. I know. I'll make Jace's assignment mine. Oh, genius. That afternoon I told my PE teacher that Jace was on duty. So she made him go tidy up the gym after class. Meanwhile, I went to his laptop and copied his work. Well, essay, done. Easy peasy. A few days later, the science teacher called the two of us to the office and asked why our assignments were identical. But hey, not only had I submitted it first, but I also had my foot on his neck. So of course I got to keep my A and Jace got an F. Ha! After school, Jace followed me to the car. Then when I was about to get in, he leaped in front of me and slammed the door shut. You're a cheater. You stole my assignment. Nah, I'm the one who has to say that. I submitted it first. Hearing us arguing, Jace's father stepped out of the car and frantically apologized to me for what his son did. You should know who you are. Your dad's just a servant, which makes you nothing. I smirked. Then I snatched the key from his dad's hand and jumped in the car. I'll get home by myself today. Bye, losers. That nerd had ruined my mood, and now I needed to cheer myself up with some fun. Oh boy, that party was awesome. As I passed through a tunnel, I turned the music volume up to max and swayed along. Suddenly, I looked up to see a truck whizzing towards me, so I swerved just in time and crashed into the road railing. Jeez, what the? I mumbled, then got out of the car. Anyway, I left my car there and got an Uber home. But hang on. Why was everyone driving on the left side of the road today instead of the right? Maybe the combination of alcohol and dizziness was making me imagine stuff. I opened my eyes and stretched out my arms. Ouch! This wasn't my room. In my drunken haze, I must have wandered into someone's shabby home. I rushed out of there and ran downstairs to find my mom and dad in the kitchen having breakfast. Victor, hurry up, else you'll be late. Oh, don't forget you're helping your mom out in the grocery store after school. What's with all this role-playing? Where am I? Terrified, I ran outside to check. What? The address is correct. 138 Riverside. But My house was a magnificent mansion. What's this hovel? Surely this is just some dream, right? I rushed back into the house and shouted, Mom, Dad, what's happened to our mansion? Son, are you dreaming? Haha, us rich enough to have a mansion. Now that's an unlikely thought. Now go change your clothes and I'll take you to school. No way. This was just a bad dream. Which often ends when we reach another location, right? Maybe when I get to school, everything will return to normal. Oh, school looks exactly the same. I was so relieved. I walked along the corridor and greeted people. Huh? Why were they blanking me? Ugh, have they forgotten who's the boss around here? But never mind, there's my honey bunch Jessica. I ran over to her and kissed her cheek. But I hugged my cheek in shock. My head was spinning, then suddenly someone nudged me from behind. It was Jace? I grabbed his collar. How dare he mess with me right in front of Jessica? Get your hands off my boyfriend. You're Jace's choice this week, so mind your attitude. Jace chose me? Who do you think you are? A dog-poor dude like you wouldn't be able to have a proper life and to attend this school without my family. Take a look at yourself. Honey, ignore him. Let's go. Jessica rubbed his arm and then they both left. I stood there dumbfounded. What on earth was going on? I felt like I tumbled into an alternate universe. I slapped myself in the face to snap out of it. Ouch! Why wasn't I waking up from this nightmare? This all started with that tunnel, right? If that was the door into this world, then it would also be the door out of this insanity. So I got in a cab to go back there. But wait, where was the tunnel? I made the driver go back and forth a few times, but it wasn't there. Then I ran out of money for the ride back, so the driver just left me there. Bewildered, I wandered around aimlessly till I reached a grocery store, where I spotted my mom working. Gosh, my mom, who always had servants around, now had to work her butt off? I couldn't bear seeing her like this and rushed over to help her. The next day I woke up early and thought that I'd choose a decent outfit to go to school. Well, life has to go on, so while I'm still stuck here, I should at least play my part. But, this version of me has terrible fashion taste. And look, now I've turned into a real nerd. I need to change it up a bit. When I arrived at school and opened my locker, there was a list of orders from Jace. What? Clean all of the dirt off his sneakers? This was nonsense. So I threw the piece of paper into the trash. Then out of nowhere, Arthur quickly picked it up and whispered into my ear. Dude, I suggest you do as Jace says. Why? He's ridiculous. To keep the peace. No one actually likes him. We're only nice to him because we don't want any trouble. And seeing Jace approaching, Arthur hurried away. Over the next few days, I saw it firsthand. People sucked up to Jace, but then behind his back, they were mean about him. He walked around like he ruled the school. He even got one kid expelled just because they reported him when he cheated on an exam. Such a spoiled brat. Also, Jessica was such a gold digger. One time I caught her flirting with one of those basketball guys. I even overheard her say, if Jace wasn't a rich kid, I wouldn't look at him twice. He's just an ATM to me. Hang on, if Jess thought that about Jace, then did she think the same way about me when we were dating? So all this time, Jace never had a real friend, just like me before. Honestly, he was detestable, but pitiable at the same time. After that, I noticed that Jess kept on giving me these flirty looks. I didn't want any trouble, so I ignored her. Then one time when I was in the hallway, she stormed over to me and yelled, "Why are you avoiding me? No one ever rejects me." I was trying to stay away from her. Then, from nowhere, Jace appeared throwing a tantrum. "What's this about?" I didn't have a chance to explain as Jess immediately rushed over to Jace. "Honey, he keeps approaching me. He won't leave me alone." "It's not like that. She's using you." I looked at him in panic. "Parking lot, 3:30 p.m. You'll pay for messing with my girlfriend." Then the two walked away, hands in hands. So after school, I nervously went to the parking lot. He threw the car key at me and sneered, "Drive. You better do as I say or else I'll make sure you're expelled." It didn't look like I had much of a choice. So I decided to go with him to find out what that maggot would do. He made me drive him home. Simple enough. But then as soon as I opened the door, my dad appeared, and in a pleading voice said to Jace, "Please, sir, don't have my son expelled." "Dad, what are you doing?" "Apologize to him at once, no matter what the reason is." Dad looked at me with steady eyes. Jace sneered at my dad and said, "How about you take the blame so we won't get expelled?" Then he threw a bunch of money at my dad's face. "You're fired." I shouted at him, "You can't treat people awfully just because you have money." "Victor, stop. You're wrong." Please, I saved you from the accident, so please forgive my son. Then Dad pulled one trouser leg to reveal his artificial leg. That was the first time I saw my dad cry. Wait, this reminded me of what happened last year. I was being such a jerk to this guy that he purposefully drove towards me for vengeance. But Jace's dad darted forward and pushed me out of the way. I know he was badly injured, but as an insouciant boy, I didn't think it was a big deal. Whoa, I really was so arrogant. I expected everyone to bow down to me, and I actually thought everyone wanted to be my friend, when in actual fact, I had no true friends at all. My head felt like it was going to explode. I wanted to run away, so I jumped into the car and drove away without thinking. I stopped the car when I saw it, the tunnel that had changed my life. Suddenly, this blinding light shone straight into my eyes. The next thing I knew, both me and the car were gravitating towards the light. Huh? Where am I? It looks like a hospital. Then I heard a yelp of delight and someone held my hand tightly. Oh, it was my mom. Thank goodness you're awake, she said, as tears streamed down her cheeks. Mom, Dad, why am I here? What day is it today? Son, it's May 22nd. You've been in a coma for the past 3 months. We weren't even sure if you were going to make it. It turns out that day, on the way home from the party, in the tunnel, I had a terrible car crash and ended up in a coma. So what I'd been through was just a dream, right? But the odd thing was that the time I'd lived in that mysterious world completely coincided with the time when I was in the coma. Could parallel universes be physically real? Whatever that strange universe was about, one thing was for sure. I'd learned my lesson. After being discharged from the hospital, I went back to being Victor, Jack a dandy. But don't get me wrong, I was not the extravagant me of the past. No, I'm a changed guy. The first thing I did when I returned to my normal life was to break up with that gold digger Jessica. But the hungry leech kept begging me to get back together. How shameless. Next, I for sure have to stop making other kids do my errands, and started to have small talk with them instead of giving orders. Now there was only one thing left to do. I needed to make amends with Jace. I asked my parents to give his dad a raise, and also throw a little dinner party this weekend to invite his family around. As I felt bad that I haven't had a chance to thank Jace's dad properly for what he did for me last year. Of course, my parents gladly agreed, and said that they're proud of me for being so thoughtful. So I'm preparing a little peacemaker gift for Jace too. I bet this is going to make him geek out all the way.
This must be Nymphalidae. No, it's Amethusidae. Look at the pattern on its wings. Oh man, how can they be so obsessed about some dumb insects? Yawn. I walked over to Caden and pulled on his sleeve. Caden, let's go take some photos by the stream. It's... Gloria, you just made it fly away. It flew away by itself. Not my fault. So bothersome. Why are you following us? Didn't you say we were enemies? You must be wondering who that guy is, and why he's so moody. He's Caden, the boy I'm trying to win over. It's down to him that now, a girl as amazing as me has to spend her entire weekend trapezing around the woods. Ugh, I don't even like insects, and I really dislike his sister, Chloe. About the enemy thing, well, it is sorta true. You see, Caden's my neighbor. And somehow, he always managed to appear at the worst possible moment and sabotage my things. One time, I was climbing over the fence to sneak out with some friends when Caden showed up and he made a scene out of it. So, my dad immediately dragged me inside and gave me a prize of 1 week being grounded. Another time, I was innocently sitting in the garden, copying an essay off the internet, when once again, Caden appeared, saw what I was doing, and made a fuss about it. So, yep, you guessed it. My dad overheard and grounded again. This poor Gloria. Ugh! I really did hate his guts back then. But my feelings then changed 180 when he once saved me from drowning. Well, I wasn't actually drowning, I just had cramps. But the fact that he dove in to save me was enough. Since then, I only had eyes for him. But no matter how hard I try, he's always so cold towards me. There's no way I'm giving up that easily. You see, someone as dazzling as me has a habit of getting what I want. With this in mind, I ran after them, but a branch got in my way, and I rolled down a hill. Everything around me was spinning. Then the world went black. Gosh, my eyes. What was with the blinding bright lights? I tried to sit up, rubbed my eyes, then saw Caden frantically running towards me. Gloria, you're awake! Are you in any pain? Oh, yeah, right. I fell and fainted. But hold on. Is Caden worried about me? If only he treated me like this all the time. Suddenly, an idea flashed through my mind. Aha! Gloria, are you okay? Huh? Who are you? Why am I here? Caden panicked and ran to find a doctor, while Chloe rushed over to me. You seriously don't remember us? I pretended to be so surprised, eyes open wide, and asked who Chloe was. Then the doctor came in. After a few tests, he said there was no severe injury, but I must have been suffering from short-term memory loss. Of course, my acting skills were Hollywood level. And no surprises, since then, Caden's attitude towards me was so different. No more moodiness. Instead, he was so sweet. So, this whole pretending thing is totally worth it. I just had one gate to pass. That devious girl Chloe. Anyone confident to do last week's routine? This will go in your favor towards the lineup evaluation. No way was I going to miss this opportunity, so I immediately raised my hand. After successfully completing the dance, everyone praised me. Except for Chloe. She stared at me and said, don't you have amnesia, Gloria? How do you still remember this dance? Oops, I forgot about the losing my memory part. Well, I watched the dance clip online and stayed up all night practicing, as I don't want to be the black sheep of our team. Chloe still stared at me, but didn't say anything more. Phew, that was a close one. I'll have to be more careful from now on. The next day, I was putting my books away when suddenly Chloe ran over, put her arm around my shoulders, and excitedly said, Hey, bestie, we're still going to the mall this afternoon? Huh? What for? Oh, I forgot. You don't remember anything. Last week you promised to take me to pick out a birthday present. Tomorrow's my birthday, so I'll meet you by the school gates after the last bell, okay? What? What is she doing? We weren't friends, and I never agreed to buy her anything. She was just trying to get a gift out of me. Ugh! But since I was supposed to have amnesia, I couldn't expose her either. Ugh! How frustrating! Trust her to pick the most expensive dress in the shop. I laughed through my tears when I saw the price tag. A whopping $150! But that's not all, as when we were leaving the mall, suddenly Chloe turned to look at me and pulled off her fake smile again. Hey, Gloria, do this with your face. I'll make a TikTok video for you. Then she showed me the phone. Huh? What is this? They're all ugly faces. I quickly waved my hand. No way! They look gross! What? That's cute! These are all the videos you sent me the other day and told me to film it for you. Then Chloe held up her phone, and I had no choice but to do so. Gosh, I was no different from a puppet in her hands. Worse, the video quickly went viral throughout the school. And now, every time people see me, they'll imitate those silly moves and burst into laughter. Ugh! That obnoxious Chloe. Why does she keep on putting my life through hell? This weekend, there will be an overnight nature experience. Everyone seemed excited, except for me. Nature was boring. Then suddenly, Chloe spoke up. Miss, my brother, Caden, is studying biology. Can I invite him to come along and help? My ears pricked up on hearing Caden's name. Of course, the teacher agreed. This meant a whole weekend of being with Caden and sitting by the fire, leaning on each other's shoulders and gazing at the stars. God, how romantic. But expectations did not meet reality. Caden was so busy that I hadn't even made eye contact with him yet. I was sitting and watching Caden instruct the students on how to recognize a death cap mushroom when suddenly someone tapped me on the shoulder. It was Chloe. Hey, let's go to the nearby stream to take photos. That's so lame. I already had like a zillion pictures taken at that stupid stream, as I've been here every week with Caden and this annoying sister of his. But, well, I suppose that would still be more fun than sitting here like this, right? So I pretended to be interested and followed her. Wow, this place is so beautiful. Stop the act. There's only the two of us now, so you don't have to fake it anymore. I know it all. Chloe smirked and continued. Now let's see how you get out of this one. Huh? Was she on to me? So all along, she was just trying to prove I was lying about the memory loss? Nice try, Chloe. But I can just call someone for help. Duh. Hey, where's my phone? God, I left it in the tent. What was I supposed to do now? I knew the way back, but if I went back by myself, it was like willingly falling into Chloe's trap. And my fake amnesia would then be exposed. By then, Caden probably wouldn't even look at me. No way. It can't happen like that. Someone will come looking for me soon. Then I sat down on a nearby tree stump and waited. But it started to get dark pretty fast. And why hadn't anyone come searching for me yet? I was so hungry. I hadn't eaten anything in hours. Suddenly, the branches behind me made a strange noise, which made me tremble in fear. Setting my thoughts aside, I hurriedly found my way back to the campsite. Halfway there, I suddenly saw two figures walking towards me, but they seemed to be arguing quite fiercely. Do you know how dangerous it can be in the forest at night? What if something happened to Gloria? She knows the way back. She was just pretending to get your attention. Or are you afraid her father won't hire you again? Wait a minute. Those voices were so familiar. Were they Caden and Chloe? But what were they talking about? Dad? Hire? What did that mean? I took a quick step forward and was stunned when I saw Caden and Chloe in the flesh. As soon as he saw me, Caden frantically asked, Are you okay? What are you two talking about? And what does it have to do with my dad? While Caden was still perplexed, Chloe was annoyed and said, It's your dad who hired Caden to watch over and protect you. Now stop wondering why he always shows up at the right time to stop your mischief. What? What did Chloe just say? Was it really my dad who hired Caden? I needed to go home immediately to ask my dad to clear things up. I stormed off, but could still hear Chloe's voice behind me. See? I told you her memory's perfectly intact. It was all just an act. Ugh! As soon as I arrived home, I barged into my dad's office. Did you hire Caden to watch over me? Why did you do that? Seeing that he couldn't hide it anymore, Dad told me everything. Turns out, a few years ago, by chance, he'd seen Caden protecting Chloe when she was causing a scene at the grocery store, and he was impressed by his maturity. Later on, he also learned that their parents had passed away a long time ago, and they'd been living with their grandma. It's a pretty pitiful situation. So, Dad came up with the idea to pay Caden to oversee and protect me, which made him feel more assured about his mischievous, crafty daughter. And at the same time, this would help Caden's family make their ends meet. So, it turned out that the time Caden saved me wasn't because he was a good guy, but just for my dad's money. I was so disappointed and sad that I locked myself in my room for the weekend. Until I was sunbathing in the garden when a baseball flew over the fence and almost knocked me out. I was furious. Whoever threw that could have killed me. That's when Caden appeared. He rushed over to retrieve the ball, then said to me, Hey, Gloria, I'm sorry about that. My friend's visiting and he has terrible aim. I folded my arms and muttered out, Whatever. He started to walk away, then stopped, looked back at me and said, Look, Gloria, your dad was paying me to protect you, and I know you and your trickster nature, so I knew from the get-go that you were faking your memory loss. The thing is, I actually found it kinda cute that you'd do that just to impress me. I gave him a skeptical look. Was he being serious? I like you. I, have done for a while, but I had my duties to think about. But I've given it some thought, and I've told your dad I quit. I don't want to be your security guard anymore. I'd much rather be your boyfriend. So, what do you say? Oh, how bold is this guy? I failed to hold back my smile as I replied, I suppose being your girlfriend could be fun, but no insects. Then I leaped up and hugged him. So now, Caden and I are officially together, and I don't have to pretend I have memory loss anymore. Hey, I guess it's not that surprising. I did say that I always get what I want.
I was casually walking along the hallway, just minding my own business, when I felt a cold breeze rush through the hallway. I turned my head to see, and oh, it was Natasha. Ooh. I didn't mean to look her in the eye, but I did. Oh no, was she going to hit me? Panicked, I quickly glared down at my feet. My heart was thudding with fear, and inside my head, I repeated, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me. But to my relief, she walked past me. Phew! Hi, I'm Marcus, and you might be wondering why I'm so afraid of that girl, right? Well, there's a reason why her nickname is Silent but Deadly. She's the tallest girl in the school, intimidating, and she never utters a word. The school was full of rumors about her, such as how the last kid who messed with her ended up in intensive care. Nobody, and I mean nobody, should ever look her in the eye, not unless they want to end up unconscious. I definitely just had a lucky escape. Thankfully, not all the girls in my school were as terrifying as Natasha. Nope. Instead, there was this really cute girl named Naomi. She's beautiful, sweet, and gentle. Only, she's also super popular and is dating Nicholas, the captain of the basketball team. So I just kept my feelings to myself and carried on with my life. But wait, where's my notebook? I guess I left it back in the science lab. So I rushed in there and, oh no, Nicholas was there and he was reading my notebook. I quickly grabbed it off of him, but it was too late. He'd already taken pictures of the song lyrics I wrote about my feelings for Naomi. Blast it! So let me get this straight. A nerd like you dares to daydream about Naomi? But we have a problem here. She's my girlfriend. Don't you know that? Wait, it's not like that. I'll stay away from her, I promise. Nicholas gave me this unnerving look. Ugh, no good thing could ever come from a look like that. I braced myself for what he was about to do next. You have to do everything I say, else I'm gonna ruin your life. Huh? Was he being serious? Judging by his devious smirk, yup, he was 100% being serious. I want you to ask Natasha out. Make sure you do it in front of the whole class. What? Natasha? That scary girl? How could I? If you say no, the entire school will know about this. Then he waved his phone in front of me. Ugh, that vile Nicholas. But I couldn't risk my song being sent to everyone, so it looked like I had no choice. So the following day, I walked over to Natasha's desk and asked her, Natasha, will you be my girlfriend? The whole class was silent. Then they burst out laughing. She glared at me. Ugh, this wasn't good. I winced, preparing for the death punch. But instead, she led me out into a corner of the hallway. Then she gave me this weak smile, followed by a nod. Oh my God, did she just agree to be my girlfriend? This is crazy. It was completely beyond my expectations. But, whew, at least I was still alive, right? And that's how I ended up dating the scariest girl in school. She never spoke to me, not even a word. So I just helped her with her studies and carried her stuff around. We also exchanged numbers, but we only chatted through messages. Then one day when I was on my way to have lunch with Natasha, Nicholas strolled over to me and told me I had to take her to the cinema to catch this awful-looking rom-com, which didn't seem like her thing at all. But what other choice did I have? Nicholas' words were orders. So I asked her over lunch, and to my surprise, Natasha smiled, then gave me a big thumbs up as agreement. When I went to pick up Natasha, she was already waiting for me on her porch. She walked over with a notepad. Curious, I asked her why she had it, and she wrote, I won't be able to text you during the movie, so this will have to do. Yup, Natasha has always been different from everyone else, so I didn't ask anymore. During the film, I noticed Natasha was crying, so when it was over and we stopped for lunch, I teased her. I saw you crying during the movie. She slammed her notepad on the table after she wrote, "I was not crying." I just laughed and took her home. Maybe she wasn't as scary as the rumors made her out to be. To be honest, she was also quite cute. The more time I spent with Natasha, the more I started to warm to her. There was something I liked about her, even though we had only communicated through sticky notes. I was desperate to hear her voice, so I hatched a plan. When we were in the library on a study date, I picked up an old book and blew the dust in her face. She almost sneezed. But before she did, she placed her hand over her mouth and raced into the girls' bathroom. Then she returned wearing a mask. After that, I tried to make her laugh. I quickly took 2 pencils from the table and stuffed them into my nose, and started making ugly faces. But Natasha just glared at me and handed me a note. "If you continue to do these ridiculous things, there will be payback." No way was I giving up. So the next day, when I saw her by her locker, I rushed over to her and began imitating the voices of the minions. I thought it would definitely work this time, but no, instead she punched me in the arm. Ouch! Yep, I now learned that the rumor about her inhuman strength was not an exaggeration. So I just gave up and our relationship continued. Then one weekend, when I was at Natasha's house to study, I went down to the kitchen to get a drink, just as her mom returned from the grocery store. As I helped her unpack, we started talking. She told me about Natasha's love of collecting glass art, the pieces of which filled the house. Then her mom touched my shoulder and thanked me for making her daughter happy again. Oh man, this was awkward. Now I felt super bad. To divert the convo, I asked if Natasha talked at home, but she just smiled and replied, "Natasha's such a quiet kid, right?" Then she told me how it's because Natasha's always been taller than the other kids, but she has a squeaky voice. This led to lots of teasing, and once she got so upset, she pushed a boy over and accidentally caused him to have a nosebleed. Since then, people started to shun her, so she withdrew from herself and stayed silent. Hearing this made me feel so guilty. What I was doing was wrong, and Natasha didn't deserve this. Then her mom said something that truly shocked me. In middle school, this one girl named Naomi was horrible to all. The mean comments got so bad she refused to go into school for weeks at a time. Huh? Naomi? The same Naomi I know? No way! Confused, I told Natasha's mom I needed to leave and left her looking bewildered as I ran out of there. My mind was a mess. I had a crush on a mean girl. And I'm just as bad, if not worse, after what I did to Natasha. Then my phone rang with a text from Natasha. It said, "Sorry if my mom said something she shouldn't have. You okay?" I texted back, "We need to talk tomorrow, please." So we decided to meet at her house the next day. Alone in her living room, I told her everything, including my notebook, liking Naomi and how Nicholas was blackmailing me. "Natasha, please, you have to believe me. I'm sorry I did this to you." I saw the hurt look in her eyes. Then she threw a note at me and ran to her room. The note told me to get out, but before I did, I stood on the other side of her door. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I couldn't continue our relationship on a lie. Look, I like you, and I don't want to deceive you anymore." After that, I left, and I also texted Nicholas that I didn't care if he told everyone. I'm done being his puppet. The next day, I expected school to be intolerable, but to my surprise, nothing happened. Instead, I saw that Natasha was trying to sort out her locker. A crowd had gathered around her, and Naomi was taunting her. "How does it feel to know that even your boyfriend likes me more? He doesn't like you." Natasha carried on sorting out her books, but I could see that she was fighting back tears. Furious, I pushed past them all and told Naomi to stop. She just jokingly said, "You know, if you wanted to date me, you could have just asked. You didn't have to spend so many months suffering with this giant scarecrow. You're right, I did like you back when I thought you were a nice person. But now I know the true you. You're a coward who only feels good when it's at the expense of someone's misery. And I can see why you target Natasha the most, because she has 2 things you'll never have, a true kind heart and a loving spirit." After that, I pulled Natasha away and told her how sorry I am. But she didn't even glance at me and just walked off. A few days later, after PE class, I was about to go to the locker room when a classmate, Dante, came up to me. "Marcus, help me carry the PE equipment into the storage room, please. I have a stomachache." He hugged his stomach, then hurriedly ran away. Without thinking much, I packed up the equipment and carried it into the storage room. As soon as I put it down, I realized that Nicholas, Naomi, and some guys from the basketball team were waiting there for me. Oh, well, Marcus, do you really like that weird Natasha? Didn't see that coming. Then the whole group burst into laughter. You have no right to say that to her. Take a look at yourself. Whoa, are you defending her? Then she turned to Nicholas. Babe, show him who's the boss here. Then she pulled out her phone and started recording. Nicholas smirked, then grabbed my shirt collar with one hand and reached out his fist to me with the other. I tried to struggle but couldn't get out. He was too strong. Knowing I was doomed, I closed my eyes and awaited his punch, but suddenly a loud shout came out. Stop! I opened my eyes to see Natasha and a teacher standing in front of the door. Turns out she overheard Dante bragging to some kid about Nicholas's plan. So she came to my rescue. I looked at her gratefully, but she turned away to avoid my gaze. Meanwhile, Nicholas hastily released my collar and lied to the teacher that we were just chatting. But of course, he didn't believe him and summoned them all to the supervisor's room. After that incident, Nicholas, Naomi, and the rest of the basketball team were suspended from school for 2 weeks. They deserved it. But who cares? I have more important things on my mind, such as winning back Natasha. I knew that her birthday was coming up, and I remembered how she loved glass art. So I bought her a glass art figure of Cinderella's glass slippers with a ticket to senior prom and a card saying, "Thank you and happy birthday. I know what you did doesn't mean you forgive me, but I want to be your real boyfriend. So I left you a ticket for senior prom. If you come and dance with me, then I know you'll give me another chance. If not, then I know that it's over. But remember, you are a special person and deserve the best." The night of prom came and I was stuck there all alone, feeling like a fool. This sucked, but after what I did, it was what I deserved. I didn't want to stick around here without her. So I was about to leave, but then my classmate tapped my shoulder and gestured for me to turn around. OMG. It was Natasha in the most beautiful crimson red dress. She walked over to me and then reached out her hand to ask me to dance. And of course, I accepted. As the song came to an end, she leaned in and whispered to me, "Thank you, my hero." I can safely say that was the happiest night of my life, as it led to me having the best girlfriend ever. Oh, also her voice is actually really cute, although she does get annoyed with me when I tell her that.
In part 1 of my story, I met my doppelganger, Tracy, who just so happened to be from a super wealthy, royal blood kind of family. We made a deal where I became her stunt double to stand in for her at boring royal parties, so she could freely be with the love of her life that her family didn't approve of. It's just like a part-time job, which helped me earn some extra money to pursue my dream of being a singer. But then one time, Tracy came over and asked me to move into her mansion and play this princess act for an entire month while she's off to Asia with her boyfriend. That would need some serious thinking. How was I supposed to keep this up 24/7? I could already see myself getting so busted. Sensing my hesitation, Tracy pleaded again. "Please, I'll give you whatever you want. This would mean so much for me and Arnold. You can do it, Kathy. We believe in you." She looked at me with those big puppy eyes. Oh no, what to do? At that exact moment, my mother walked out from the kitchen and said, "You've been doing a great job so far, sweetie. I'm sure you'll pull it off this time, too. Don't worry, it'll be fine." Well, I couldn't say no now, so I gave Tracy a nod, which made her scream with happiness. "Yay! You've made my day! Tomorrow, 3 p.m., I'll be waiting for you." Then she grinned at my mother. "Thank you, Mrs. Mill." And so I moved in the next day. It was just me and Tracy's dad lived in this marvelous mansion. Yeah, as well as their butler and some dozens of housekeepers. You get the picture. Luckily, Tracy's dad was rarely home, so I basically had the place to myself. It was bliss. I didn't have to lift a finger. If I wanted a glass of wine, I just rang the bell and a glass would be waiting before I even put the bell down. One day, I felt like Mexican food, and they actually flew one of the top Mexican chefs in just to make me a burrito. I could seriously get used to this whole royal blood thing. However, there were a few moments where I totally messed up. One time, Tracy's dad had a day off, so we ate dinner together.
I was so nervous that I totally forgot that Tracy was left-handed, and her dad noticed right away. "Sweet pea, since when are you eating with your right hand?" I stammered, trying to make something up. I've recently seen some research saying I should start using my right hand to train the left side of my brain too. Just experimenting, Dad. Phew, that was close. But it didn't stop there. Doris, the housekeeper, came into my room one day and joked, "Tracy, when did you become so tidy? If I didn't know better, I'd say you had been replaced by a secret twin sister or something." I totally froze, trying not to let Doris know that she had just hit the nail on the head. I laughed it off. "Oh, Doris, don't be so silly. It's me. Check my birthmark." I was kind of bored and just thought I could clean it up a little bit. But it's even more boring. Ugh. "It's all yours now." I passed her my unfolded blanket and swiftly left the room. Each close call like that reminded me to be more careful. But other than that, my new life was full of wonderful things. Especially when I had Thomas by my side. At first I tried to act as cold as possible towards him, just like how Tracy would normally treat this fiancé of hers. But tell me, how am I supposed to ignore such a perfect man? He often came to visit me or took me to places. He always gave me all these butterflies with his charm and elegant gestures, and it wasn't long before I realized I had feelings for him. I just couldn't help it. He made me so happy. One night, instead of having some fancy 8-course dinner date, I suggested we try something more casual. So we went bowling and grabbed some burgers. We had so much fun, and at one point, he took my hand and said, "Thank you for opening your heart to me and giving me a chance to be your man," as he put a soda can ring on my finger. Come on, who wouldn't melt to that? And when he dropped me home, he leaned over to kiss me. Oh my God! My heart was thumping in my chest as I got out of the car. Then he said, "Good night, my darling Tracy." Suddenly, reality came crashing down. I had been delusional. It was Tracy that Thomas loved, not me, not poor old Kathy. But it's too late now. I'd been so carried away with my own feelings that I didn't realize how my behaviors towards Thomas had been taken as a green light. Both families were super stoked that Tracy finally showed some positive signals towards this relationship, and they started planning the wedding right away. The date was set for 2 weeks later. Then the plan was for us to move to Singapore for Thomas's work. I was so shocked at how fast everything was moving. This was a disaster. I called Tracy and told her everything. She also freaked out and told me to stay calm and just wait for her. She'd get back before the wedding day to stop it. Well, the wedding day was fast approaching, and there was still no sign of Tracy. I was really panicking now. And the worst part was that I couldn't get a hold of her. Her phone was off. I didn't know what to do. I cried to my mom over the phone, so she tried to calm me down. "Honey, I think if you leave now, you'll mess everything up. If Tracy's family finds out, you'll both be in trouble. Hang on a bit more. I'm sure she'll be back and everything will be okay." "But that means I have to go through with the wedding and then move to Singapore with him. I can't do that, Mom." "Why not, sweetie? I know you love him, and so far no one has spotted a difference between the two of you. Just keep pretending for now, okay?" So that's what I did. I kept pretending. While everyone prepared for the wedding of the year, I paced back and forth waiting for Tracy to get back. One day I was out in the garden trying to ease my mind when someone approached me. He looked so familiar, and I wondered if it was Arnold, Tracy's boyfriend. But what was he doing here? He asked me to follow him so that no one would see us. And then he seemed angry and said, "Tracy, why didn't you tell me you were back? I was so worried when you disappeared like that." Huh? Wasn't Tracy supposed to be with him? Arnold, calm down. I'm not Tracy. I'm Kathy. But Tracy has disappeared? I haven't been able to contact her either, and I've been worried sick. Oh, hey, Kathy. Gosh, you two are identical. Arnold looked disappointed. Anyway, we came back a few days ago, and she wanted to swing by your mum's place to give us some presents. Then I haven't seen her since. That's weird. My mum would have mentioned if she swung by. Yeah, I've asked her, but she hadn't seen Tracy either. Kathy, we need to find her. So I immediately canceled my wedding dress fitting and went with Arnold to my house. Hey, Mum, it's me. I called out, but there was no answer. We searched the house, but couldn't find her anywhere. Then, as we passed my room, I could hear someone inside, and the door was locked. That was so odd. So I rushed to get the spare key to open it, and got the fright of my life. Tracy was sitting on my bed. I almost screamed. What are you doing here? Tracy looked as shocked to see us as we were to see her. I don't know why your mom locked me in here, but don't worry, she didn't hurt me. I'm being fed well and I have Netflix, so it's not all bad. No way. My mom would never do such things. She was the sweetest woman, and this was so out of character. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. It was my mom. I screamed. Mom, could you please explain? What's going on here? She looked at me and stammered. I just planned to keep her here for a few days, just until you married Thomas and flown to Singapore with him. Are you insane? Do you want me to steal her life? No, sweetie, it's not stealing. It should have been your life. I mean, why didn't he recognize his own daughter? At this, she burst into tears and fell to the floor. Arnold rushed over and helped her up and said, What do you mean, his own daughter? And that's when my mum told me that Tracy is actually my half-sister. What? So Tracy's dad was my dad too? Turns out, when my mum had fallen pregnant with me, Tracy's dad's family hadn't approved because my mum was just a normal person. So they'd paid her to move to another city and stay away from Dad. But what's even worse is that my dad didn't even try and look for us after that. In fact, a few months later, he'd already married Tracy's mom, who came from a rich family. Both Tracy and I stood there completely shocked. No wonder we looked so similar. So, you're my sister? I gasped, staring at Tracy with wide eyes. Really? Dad did that? What a selfish, arrogant man! I'm ashamed to even be related to him. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. The truth needs to be told. No, Tracy, wait. Don't do that. My mom yelled. Sorry, but I have to. I can't play this game anymore. I have a plan. At that, Tracy walked off and Arnold ran after her. Here we go, I thought. And eventually, the wedding day of Thomas and Tracy rolled around. Me, my mom, and Arnold showed up in disguise. When the vicar asked them both to say I do, Thomas said it immediately. But Tracy paused. The whole church held their breath waiting for her I do, but it never came. Instead, she said, I can't do this, Thomas. I'm sorry. That's when Arnold appeared, and Tracy ran towards him and held his hand. This man, he is the true love of my life. Of course, Tracy's dad was furious. He got up from his seat and yelled in front of everyone, What on earth is going on? And that's the moment when I felt so proud of Tracy. She said, I don't love Thomas, Dad, and he deserves to be with someone who truly loves him back. That's what marriage is about, right? It should be based on love, not status or money. And anyway, I don't want to hurt someone the way you did. What are you talking about? Who did I hurt? He looked stunned. My mom, Kathy's mom, and Kathy herself, too. Tracy pointed over at me and my mom. Everyone in the church gasped as they looked from Tracy to me and back again. We really were identical. He looked like he was going to faint when he saw my mom. And then with a shaking hand, he pointed to me and said, And who is this? My mom walked towards him and said, This is Kathy, your daughter. The one you abandoned. Wow, I didn't think my mom had it in her. Honestly, the tension in the air was crazy. People started whispering and shuffling in their seats. That was when Thomas said, "So, which one of you is Tracy?" I decided this was my moment to speak up. "I'm not Tracy. I'm Kathy. I've been taking her place during the past month. I'm so sorry for lying to you this whole time." I couldn't even look him in the eyes as I put in his hand the soda ring that meant so much to me. Thomas looked disappointed and marched off. I ran after, trying to stop him, but he didn't care. Only, when I tripped and fell to the ground, he turned around to say, "Why would you do this? Giving me false hope? And for what? Honestly, it would have been better if you'd treated me the way Tracy the Ice Queen does." "I'm sorry, Thomas. I didn't want to hurt you. My feelings for you are real." I started to cry. "You're so selfish, Tracy. Oh no, wait. I mean, Kathy." Then he walked off. In the end, the wedding was obviously cancelled. Tracy's dad, or should I say, our dad, had no choice but to accept Tracy and Arnold's relationship. I was so happy for her. Dad, of course, also apologized to me and Mum, and even offered me to come and live with them. But I refused. I wasn't about to leave my mom. However, I did accept his offer to pay for my vocal training. At least I could live this dream of mine. Because I doubted I could make my other dream come true. My dream to see Thomas again. I was heartbroken. Still, I had to get on with life. Maybe I'd meet someone else. Pretty soon, it was time to graduate from my first semester of vocal training, and I was going to have my first ever solo performance to an audience. I was so nervous, but I sang with all my heart, and afterwards, as I left the theater, someone ran up to me with a giant bouquet of flowers. Unbelievable! It was Thomas! I burst into tears and he said, "Hi, Kathy. I'm Thomas. Nice to meet you." That put the widest smile on my face. I then ran into his arms saying, "It feels so good to hear you call me by my real name." "Yes, I'm Kathy. I know we just met, but will you be my boyfriend?" And you guessed it. The rest is now history. We're currently planning our wedding. For real this time. And I've honestly never been happier.
Lisa! Lisa! Wait up!
I slowed down, then turned around and smiled at Emily as she hurried to catch up with me.
Well, spit it out. What hot tea do you get this time? Lisa, you are not going to believe this. Eden likes you.
I raised an eyebrow.
Huh? You're kidding, right? No.
She furiously shook her head.
It's true. Yesterday afternoon, after school, I passed by the basketball court and I overheard the boys talking about it.
I think the likelihood is you heard wrong, my friend. As I continued on my way to school, I couldn't stop thinking about Emily's words. As if Eden Woodson, the most popular boy in the entire school, would like me? Impossible! Had we even spoken to each other? Oh yeah, once. In the library, he asked to borrow my pen. Not to mention, his last girlfriend, Sarah, was the captain of the cheerleading squad. So, yep, you can already tell how pretty and popular she was. They only split up because she moved away. Well, look at me. Talent? Well, my coordination is 0, thanks to being short-sighted. Pretty? Nope. And my Coke bottle glasses don't help in this department. The only thing I was okay at was studying, which is why I was assigned the role of class president. Think fast. A cheerleader versus a class president? See? Figured. Throughout the day, Emily wouldn't quit insisting that what she'd heard was correct. Ugh, I know she meant well, but didn't she realize how humiliating this was for me? Even if she did hear Eden say that, he was probably just kidding around. Emily, please stop. I just want to take these tests in Mrs. Pierce's classroom, then go home.
But Lisa...
I gave her my best I'm being serious look, so she let out a defeated sigh, nodded, then walked away from me. Finally, peace at last. I dropped the tests off, then as I was walking back along the corridor, I saw Eden leaning against his locker as he talked to a boy on the basketball team. For some reason, curiosity got the best of me, so instead of walking past them, I found myself ducking behind the corner and eavesdropping on their conversation.
So, what else are you still waiting for? Talk to her!
I really want to, but I don't know.
As if the most popular boy in school is dumbstruck by some girl.
Who are they talking about?
Could it be me? No way.
Lisa, please wake up and stop being so delusional. Fact. Boys like Eden would never lay an eye on girls like you. The next morning at school, I walked into class to see the boys, including Eden, chatting about last night's NBA score or something. Only Eden wouldn't quit staring at me. Did I have something on my face? My eyes met his, and then he immediately turned away and resumed the conversation with his friends like nothing happened.
Huh?
What did that mean? Then, during chemistry class, I kept sensing this strange feeling coming from behind. So by instinct, I turned around to check. And surprise, surprise, I saw Eden looking at me. But just like earlier, as soon as our gazes met, he stared down at his book. Okay, so that was weird. While I was thinking about his strange behavior, Emily suddenly nudged my arm.
See, I told you he likes you. You should tell him you like him, too, before it's too late.
No thanks. But what do you mean by too late?
I heard that Sarah, his ex, is coming back. Her parents divorced or something.
So what?
Come on, Lisa. He likes you.
But I don't like him. As soon as I finished talking, I saw the teacher glancing straight at me. Oh no, busted! He made me stand up in front of everyone and answer a question. But of course, I hadn't been listening, so I just stood there doing this open-mouthed goldfish look, then frantically looked around to find some help with the answer. And when I peered over at Eden, oh great, he was grinning at me. This was so embarrassing. That night, I lay in bed and got lost in thoughts about Eden. Okay, so I know I told Emily I didn't like him. It's just that I still didn't believe that someone like him could have a crush on someone like me. Curious, I spent the whole evening stalking Eden's social media account. Not gonna lie, he was indeed really cute. There were loads of pics of him watching basketball matches with his little bro, pulling goofy faces with his friends, and spending time with his family at the beach. So there were also a few pics of him with his ex, and I noticed that she'd commented on some of his recent stuff. I really wished I was brave enough to start a conversation with him, or to even ask him if he still kept in touch with his ex-girlfriend. But that would be weird, wouldn't it? But then, guess what? To my utter disbelief, the next morning, my homeroom teacher walked in, and following her was... Sarah? Oh no, I should have listened to Emily on this one. So did this mean Eden would get back with her? All day long, Sarah clung onto Eden. So it wasn't long before the rumors started buzzing around school that the dream couple was back together. Not only was this bad enough to deal with, but I also had to put up with Emily's I told you so looks. Whatever. The two of them dating had nothing to do with me, right? They could do what they wanted, and I was just going to carry on with my life. But, geez, this Sarah girl needed to stop spamming everyone's timeline with all these old photos when she and Eden were still in love. Not to mention the cheesy, cringy captions. Okay, I guess my heart ached a little. But anyway, I knew I shouldn't care about them. Only, it soon became pretty obvious that Sarah was bothered by me. Every time she passed me in the corridor, she glanced at me and sneered. Huh? Why the attitude? I barely knew the girl. Then one time, I was heading over to the cafeteria when someone shoved me from behind, causing me to fall face first on the ground. Confused, I quickly fumbled for my glasses. Huh? What was that sound? Then suddenly I heard Emily scream out, "Lisa, you just stepped on your glasses!" Oh no. Now how was I supposed to live without my glasses? Emily had to guide me back to class, and that day I could only listen to the lectures because I couldn't see well enough to take notes. By the end of the day, I was fed up and just wanted to go home. I was about to ask Emily to help me walk home, so I didn't end up getting flattened by a bus or something. But before I could ask her, she packed up at lightning speed, said bye, then hurried out of there. Haze, how thoughtful was my dear bestie? Great. Guess I would just have to navigate my way home alone somehow. It took me ages just to get from the classroom to the school gate. Then I almost bumped into someone. But fortunately, there was a hand that pulled me back. "You okay?" came a familiar voice. "Eden? Is that you?" I asked. "Yeah, I'm here, and I'm not having your death on my conscience, so I'm walking you home." He took my hand. Eek! My heart somersaulted. Then he led me to the nearby glasses store so I could buy a new pair. After that, he still insisted on walking me home, though, and on the way, we talked loads, mainly about our families and our love of indie movies. Still, I couldn't help but have Sarah at the back of my mind. I just wanted to ask him about their relationship, but now wasn't the right time, right? A few days later, during a math test, I felt something hit my back, then fall to the ground. So I picked it up, but before I could see what it was, the teacher quickly walked over, grabbed it, and opened it. Turns out, it was some of the answers to the test. Oh no! I tried explaining myself, but he told me I would get detention and was not allowed to take the test anymore. What? I couldn't get an F on my math test. It would ruin both my transcript and my college application record. I cried out to him that this wasn't fair, when suddenly Eden stood up and said, "Sir, it was my sheet, not Lisa's." So both of us ended up being banned from taking the test, and the teacher believed that because I picked the note up, I was still just as guilty. I didn't think this day could get any worse. Oh, how wrong I was. During recess, I was rearranging my books in my locker when Sarah approached me. "Hey, how dare you let Eden take the blame for your actions? As class president, you should be totally ashamed of yourself." "What are you talking about?" "Your innocent routine may fool Eden, but you aren't fooling me. You wait and see, as I still have bigger plans coming for you." "Bigger? What other plans did you have?" "Huh? Am I missing something?"
Stop ruining things between Eden and me, else I won't let it slide next time."
What was that about? Why was Sarah blaming me? Jeez, this whole situation was crazy. After school, Eden and I had to stay behind for an extra hour for detention. Luckily, our homeroom teacher knew that neither of us would cheat, as we were both exemplary students. So that punishment was just a warning. Then, on our way out of the classroom, I asked him, "I know that paper wasn't yours, so why did you help me?" "Well, I knew it wasn't yours either. I saw Sarah throw it at you." "Sarah?" "Yeah, she was behind breaking your glasses too." "She pushed me? But why?" It was me. I'm sorry. She did that because she knows I like you." What? Did I mishear him? Eden just said that he likes me? "Lisa, I like you. I have for a long time. Do you want to go out with me sometime?" There was an awkward pause as I soaked up his words. He really likes me. Oh, wow. This was bonkers. I gave this huge smile. Then I nodded at him and spluttered out, "Yeah, I'd like that." So, after that, we started dating. But this didn't go too well with Sarah. One afternoon, I was walking across the schoolyard
when Sarah appeared and shot me this dirty look, which I ignored. Suddenly, she pushed my shoulder, sneered, and then left. I quickly straightened myself up, then shouted after her, "Hey, Sarah! I never got a chance to thank you!" Sarah immediately turned around and gave me a puzzled look. You know, for getting Eden and me together. Sincerely, thank you, our matchmaker. Then I smiled and left. I'm pretty sure that she was still standing there at me with fiery eyes. But hey, she pranked me first, right? Oh well, karma. Anyway, I just want to let you all know that if you like someone, then don't put yourself down. Instead, be confident and brave enough to tell them how you feel. Because not everyone is lucky enough to have an expert matchmaker like Sarah around to help.
Oh, I've never been in a negotiation that lasted this long before. I've been here since 3, and it's now 8. Worse still, I hadn't even mentioned the funding yet. I've tried, but it was Dane's fault. He kept on interrupting me and going off topic. As I looked at Dane, who was currently reenacting a soccer game with condiments, I wondered how on earth was he a part of the student council. He might have been a senior, but he was an average grade student who didn't seem to excel at anything. He also exaggerated everything and mainly just messed around. I should never have agreed with Dane to arrange the meeting here. Not only had I wasted 5 hours of my life, but it looked like the funding was a no deal. I couldn't take any more of this. Remind me never to listen to Dane ever again. I grabbed my bag and was about to stand up when Mr. Johnson turned to me. "Ruth, I love your idea. Funding all of it would be a bit of a stretch, but I can go to 80%. And if it becomes a yearly thing, I'll be happy to continue sponsoring it." I stared at him open-mouthed. Did I hear him right? Mr. Johnson, the owner of the local music shop, was actually agreeing to provide a big chunk of the funding for our student talent show? "By the way, I like this Dane guy. Today's been fun." Dane wooed, "Yes, it's a dealio," and enthusiastically shook Mr. Johnson's hand. Wait, I was supposed to be the one to close the deal. Never mind. We had the funding. This was amazing. We did it! Dane punched the air. "Hey, how did you?" He gave a Cheshire cat grin as he replied, "Never expected that, did you? What do you think of me now, Ruth the new president?" I shrugged and laughed. "Hey, how about a celebratory hug, huh?" He lunged at me with open arms. Well, why not? This deserved a celebration after all. We were jumping up and down, and I don't know, maybe I was delirious from the stupidly long meeting or something. But the next thing I knew, we were kissing. OMG! We immediately pulled away from each other and awkwardly looked the other way. After that, he drove me home in silence. Oh no, what was I thinking? Why did I, or anyone breathing, do that? It was Dane. Dane! Can you believe it? Well, okay, I suppose it'd been a difficult couple of months for me. As soon as I became president of the student council, my boyfriend Walter didn't congratulate me. No, instead he broke up with me. We'd been together for 2 years, but recently he'd spoken about marriage and buying a house. Not yet. I want to focus on my career first. But I guess me applying to the students' council and being all busy bee with work frustrated him even more. Now, I tried to distract myself with studying and council work, but I felt like I was getting ever closer to the edge of a cliff. One with hungry sharks circling the bottom. Ugh! And then there were the rumors being spread around school about me. Ruth's just a freshman. She won't be able to hack the pressure. And Ruth's so serious and boring. So I started working harder and harder to prove myself. Hence the talent show project. Only, geez, I was so exhausted, both mentally and physically. This funding news was fantastic. But what was going on with Dane? Maybe he has some kind of secret power of attraction or something. Anyway, after that incident, he flooded me with calls and messages, even though I was crazy busy. After the 12th call in a row, I stopped writing my essay and answered with an annoyed, "What? Hey there, how are you feeling about the weather today? My name is Ruth, not there, and I don't care about the weather, I'm busy." Busy enough to correct my words like that? I don't think so. Ugh, fine. I agreed to go out for a quick coffee with him just so he'd stop bugging me. I stirred my spoon around my coffee as I glared at him and said, "Will you stop calling me? I need to study." He stuffed the majority of his muffin into his mouth and took ages to chew it. Then he wiped his mouth onto the back of his arm and said, "You do realize all the other council members call you Military Ruth, right? Try not to be so difficult and chillax once, will you?" Wow, that sucked. I didn't expect to be liked by everyone, but I was working my butt off for the council, so they could at least appreciate what I was doing for them. I cleared my throat. I don't care. Work is work. I didn't become the president to make friends. "But I know you're not like that," Dane continued. "You might be going through a tough time. Still, you're the most stunning person I've ever met." My face brightened up, even blushed. What did he just say? "You're beautiful, strong, and independent." He reached out and took my hand, and I tried to ignore the fact it was sticky from his muffin. Ew. "I must be the luckiest guy ever to date a girl like you, Ruth. Those other girls are just jealous of you. I mean, you have this hunk, and they don't." Hold up. He said what? Date? I gave him a disgusted, "Who do you think you are?" look. Reading my expression, his face dropped. "Oh, I, thought there was something between us." I froze for a few seconds. Was I being too harsh? I mean, he was totally sweet saying those words earlier. Fine. Listen carefully. I'll hang out with you. Not dating. But you have to promise, swear, that you'll never, ever tell anyone about it. I don't know. I mean, he was so immature and annoying, but I guess he was also kind of fun to be around. He made me laugh, and I liked that. All I did was work, work, work. And perhaps that was why Walter broke up with me, wasn't it? Maybe when I hang out with Dane, I should practice being less serious. One Sunday, when we were having brunch at a random cafe of his choice, I asked about his graduation coming up that summer and his plan. "Honestly, I haven't thought any further than finishing my freshman year," he said between chewing on his sandwich. "How about you?" he asked. "Well, I want to go to an Ivy League college for a master, of course, preferably Dartmouth, and study social science. Then I want to work for the government, but high up, you know, like a managing role, and really make an impact, you know?" Dane shrugged after I finished. "Yeah, nice plan," and kept digging in his food. I felt weird. Was I being unrealistic? Or was it just Dane's point of view? But to have a happy relationship, maybe it's best to compromise and accept the differences, right? I snapped myself back into the now. If this whole thing with Dane hadn't happened, I would still be in anguish and despair. It was strange, but I did feel better around him, unlike with Walter. So I should respect his opinions. Gotta learn from my mistake, right? One day, I was at a council meeting planning a fundraiser for the remainder of the talent show money. I decided it was time people saw the real Dane, so I made him event organizer. But this didn't go down well. As in the other council members' eyes, Dane was a lazy, idiotic puppet. Give him a chance. He's the one who persuaded Mr. Johnson to fund the talent show. Please, we never know other people's limits and abilities. Then this girl, Catherine, sarcastically said, "Of course you'd know his ability since he's your boyfriend." You suck at leading. All you care about is your personal feelings. I know. I'll date you. Then I may actually get given a job I deserve. My tongue was tied. I couldn't find a word to defend myself. And at the same time, I was really, really mad at Dane. And worse still, he hadn't even bothered showing up for the meeting. Afterward, I went round to Dane's house and furiously banged on the door. Yelled at him the moment he opened it. "How come people know that we've been hanging out?" Dane silently scratched his head, eyes open wide, and stared awkwardly at some random spot. "Answer me!" I continued, but still, no reply. I pointed my finger at his face. "I just went through a hurricane of rage in a meeting with the council to put you in charge of the fundraiser event. And you didn't even bother showing up. You better do an amazing job, else we'll both be dead." Then I stormed off. Over the next few days, the rumors continued to circulate about me. Clearly, Dane had been bragging to everyone that he'd managed to score himself a stiff girl like me. That I was no tigress, more like a lovely kitten. Now everyone was staring and laughing at me, and made meow sounds at me in the corridors. Someone even filled my seat in the council room with cat food. This was horrible to deal with, but instead of supporting me, Dane went rogue from school for a full week. He also didn't arrange the venue for the fundraiser, meaning we had to reschedule the event. I was left looking bad, so the teacher gave me a lecture on responsibility and strongly advised me to leave the student council. So that's what I did. Catherine's in charge now. After that, I couldn't face school, so I locked myself away in my room and cried as I thought back to all the things that had happened. First, Walter left me. Then everyone else on the council mocked me. Then I lost my position on the council I worked hard for because I put my trust in the wrong person. Ugh, Dane. What he did hurt the most, as he was exactly what others described him as, childish and insensitive. I was torn between never wanting to see him again and also missing him like crazy. Now I had no one. I felt so alone. Ugh, darn it. Loneliness sucked. So when he called me, I answered. He told me he was outside my house. I guess I should at least hear him out, right? "Hey, beautiful, listen." He grabbed my hand and looked straight into my eyes. "It doesn't matter, okay? The council, the president position, those people don't matter. The most important thing is you being happy, and I'm gonna make you happy." I wanted so much to believe his words. So I let him take me out. We ended up in this noisy restaurant with singing waiting staff. He found it hilarious, but I felt so uncomfortable. Then on the way back, he dragged me into this arcade and left me so he could go on the zombie killing game. As I watched him spin around then shoot, I realized how different we were. I guess I was holding on to him because I'd lost everything else. Who was I anymore? I felt like a stranger to myself. This wasn't me, and Dane wasn't right for me. He rushed over to me and excitingly clung onto my arm. "Ruth, come see my high score." I shook my head and quietly said, "It's over." I pulled my arm free and walked off. After that, I kept to myself, and at school, avoided Dane and my former council members as much as possible. It did hurt when I saw the posters for the talent show around the school, but that wasn't my problem anymore. I did receive a message from Dane saying something about his graduation party, but I skipped it. The truth is, he's just not good for me. Life was a joke to him, and as a result of this, he left me feeling like I was a joke too. I felt so lost. So I'm going to spend the summer with my grandparents out in the country, away from everyone and everything. I need time to heal, so when I come back, I'll be strong, confident, and independent girl I once was. As I really do miss that version of me. Each one of us needs to learn how to overcome things by ourselves, without relying on others, especially when these others in question aren't any good for us.